changing the narrative. At her office, the National Coordinator of Voice of Humanitarian AIDS, Franca Emeko-Obum, shared the group's experiences on the field with people affected by leprosy.
Even we that are even speaking up for them, sometimes, it wasn't easy for our families and our friends to even accept, that what we are doing is not risky. They are even afraid to come close to me. They're scared. Initially they say, oh, no. We don't want you and this your leprosy people, please.
Franca maintained that discriminating against the people with leprosy in itself is a deadly disease.
Already they are in pain. Already they are in sorrow. We should not add to that sorrow by discriminating against them. Rather, we should, come together as, people of God, one nation, one love, one family.
Dr. Yohan Akase is the head of infectious diseases at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Luth. He confirmed that leprosy is not contagious.
With leprosy, the truth of the matter is that over 90% of people, in fact that's a conservative estimate to be honest, but over 90% of people who get exposed to leprosy are not going to have leprosy. Okay? So yes, it's not such a contagious infectious disease in the context of how we look at contagion, that if somebody has leprosy, touches you, you're going to get leprosy. In fact, it's well known that there are a certain, for lack of a better word, genetic predispositions to getting, not everybody is going to get leprosy, even if they get exposed to that. Picking somebody who has already had a deformity at that time to keep him isolated, apart from the fact that it's not interrupting the chain of transmission, it has, like you said, it entrenches the concept of stigma, denies them of being productive, being rehabilitated and getting on with their lives, living a normal life as possible. And also, generally, doesn't achieve much, to be honest.
Jim Mohammed is a survivor of leprosy. He was affected at the age of 19 when he gained admission into Ahmadu Bello University but could not continue his studies.
That was 1999, the first time I just detected that I got a leprosy, because I don't even know that it's a leprosy before. I was just told that I have some patches in my body, which I was just thinking that it's just be a ringworm. They are calling it a las ejedomi. And I went to some people that are selling the herbs, that okay, I need the herbs for this thing, and they give it to me and I'm using it. After using it, I don't even see any changes. That is why my mom just took me to one herbalist, which we are calling Babalawo, and the man just said that this one is leprosy.
The father of 3 recalled how he battled with discrimination.
During that time, I have some challenges with some maybe neighbors, even in where I'm living with my mom. One of the person that, the owner of the house, because we rented that house by then, we just said that this one we have to take it outside, because his father has house. Definitely you should go to his father's house. Don't let me lie to you. My faith is not solid by then, because I was just thinking, asking God, why me?
The survivor is the chairman of the Association of People Affected with Leprosy and the PRO of the national body. He is particular about ensuring that nobody with leprosy ends up as a beggar on the streets.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, arrested former Imo State Governor Rochas Okorocha and allegedly have refused to question him 24 hours later. And former Governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi, has dumped the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and his presidential ambition. Well, this is Plus Politics. I am Mary Anacom. Operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, have arrested Rochas Okorocha, former Imo State Governor. The senator representing Imo West had earlier declined to be taken away by operatives, insisting that he will not submit himself to the anti-graft agency without a warrant. But security operatives broke the entrance doors to get into the home of the former governor. In a statement, Wilson Uwujaren, EFCC spokesperson, said they had orders to bring the former governor to stand trial before a federal high court in Abuja. Okorocha's family has now accused the EFCC of failing to interrogate him 24 hours after his arrest. His daughter, Uloma Okorocha, also confirmed that her father's arrest and detention might be part of plots to stop him from participating in the APC presidential screening and primaries. Well, joining us to discuss this is Dele Farotimi. He's a political analyst. Thank you so much, Mr. Farotimi, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it was a pleasure. So, the whole world watched as what some people would term as, a scene from Mission Impossible, play out on our screens. We saw the live footage from the sitting room of the senator, and we also saw what was happening outside thanks to pressmen. I just want to get a feel of what you think actually transpired and why it had to take that turn as opposed to him being invited to the EFCC on a normal day.
Well, I guess when you move away from the theater and you look to the substance, you find very quickly that what you're just saying, Okorocha is not playing the game according to the script is being handed. It's a simple enough thing. Number one, the man is not just being arrested. He'd been arrested before. He'd been charged before a court. He was enjoying an administrative bail, according to the EFCC. His next court appearance would appear to be on the 30th of May. He had he had declined to appear before the court at his last sitting. I think that was in March. So ordinarily, if the EFCC was interested in ensuring his appearance before the court, the administrative bail that he had enjoyed would be revoked. We don't know yet if that is what had been done, but it would appear to be the reasonable assumption to make. If the administrative bail has been revoked, the EFCC had not arrested him this time around in order to be interrogating him. They've moved beyond the point of interrogation. The man has been charged. He's been charged for, I think, money laundering to the tune of 2.9 billion or something along those lines. So if they are now arresting him in the manner that we all watched, which is not new, if the truth be told, you'll find dozens of videos online where the same EFCC had deployed similar tactics against people they've labeled Yahoo boys. They'll go to hotels, bust into hotels, arrest everybody in the hotel, and then begin a process of screening to ensure who the Yahoo person is and who isn't. So if a Yahoo senator, sorry to say, because that's what it would appear to be now, is now being picked by the same agency, well, I will say to you that he probably just didn't hack the script the way he's been instructed. Because ordinarily, I really don't know what he has done that is different from what all of them has done. And this time around, picking him up at the time, in the circumstances, deploying so much force, it doesn't say a lot that is positive about the EFCC, but it also doesn't in any way exonerate Rochas himself. Because if the truth be told, the EFCC made a case. He had a bail. He'd been flouting the terms. He's refused to appear in court. They are within their right to arrest him. It's the manner of the arrest that we might deprecate.
Quoting the spokesman for the former governor and senator, he did say something about the fact that there was a high court order from Port Harcourt that had barred the EFCC from prosecuting this case. In fact, he was on another station showing or handing out, a copy of that court judgment. In fact, he also alleged that the EFCC had been slammed a 500 million naira fine that had not been paid, and that EFCC had also not gone to court to vacate that order. And so that the EFCC is also, one way or the other, in breach of the court.
There's nothing new there. In the first place, I've said this ad nauseum. Nigeria is not governed by laws. So when you have a situation where a senator, a former two-time governor, takes off to a court in Port Harcourt, he gets himself a court order in Port Harcourt, stopping the EFCC from doing what it is doing. EFCC also will tell you that under the administration of justice, criminal justice laws, they are entitled to do their job without hindrance by way of any court order. They would have multiple levels. At the end of the day, nothing will happen to Okorocha. It's all about the administration of impunity. Okorocha will play the script by the time he comes out of EFCC confinement. He'll probably withdraw his candidacy like a good boy. And he would, of course, like every other one, once he recants, we've heard it from Adam Oshiomhole. Join us and you are immune. He's one of the foundation members of APC. So how can anyone expect that anything will happen to him? All that you are saying is that in the moment, he is required to act in a manner that is inconsistent with his own choices. And when he finally understands that he has to play according to the script, they will pat him on the back. He will go back to the chambers of the Senate. That was the Senator of the Federal Republic. They will go back to the Senate again and make laws for the lesser mortals. And the FCC will promptly go back to chasing the Yahoo boys and filtering people through their processes. But at the end of the day, this is not about the Nigerian people. It has nothing to do with an anti-corruption war. Nothing of the sort. Simply Silva is sat in that federal cabinet.
Mr. Farotimi,
he
you're
stands
insinuating...
in report of everything the EFCC is doing. It's a waste of time. It's just another circus of anti-corruption.
I'm sorry, are you insinuating that this is politically motivated as opposed to
the
fight against corruption?
Course it is.
I'm asking because there are people who are on the side of the EFCC saying that, look, he mismanaged funds when he was governor. He's not necessarily been able... So why would this be politically motivated? I mean, like you have also said, he's a member of the All Progressive Congress. If he were to be a sacred cow, would he be dragged, as he was dragged, to the glare of the whole public?
Look, let me repeat what I said to you earlier on. Nigeria is not interested in fighting corruption. If we were interested in fighting corruption, certain key members of the Buhari administration or regime would not be sat in that place. They were already hung, they had on their neck, they had corruption charges hanging around their necks before they became part and parcel of that cabinet. Okorocha is in very good company. He's not different from any one of the remaining lots, whether they be in the Senate or they be in the federal cabinet. So it's not as if there is anything extra. In fact, there is one that was convicted that is enjoying some sort of reprieve, that is sat as the chief whip of the Senate. So let's get something clear, that Okorocha's stole is nothing new. That actually gives him the bona fide to be a member of the Nigerian ruining class. There is nothing new there. I'm not condoning it, but I'm pointing it out to you. So if they are chasing after Okorocha, you need to look beyond an anti-corruption fight, because it's obviously not about anti-corruption. Corruption is not... Buhari is very comfortable with corruption. If you recall, just before the primary processes started, he even went as far as to instruct the EFCC not to get involved with the process. So you would understand that if they are now moving beyond that, it's not because Okorocha is corrupt. All of them are the same. So there must be a reason for going after Okorocha at this time. I'm not validating anything. I don't know, but nobody is going to convince me that this is about... It's also like somebody telling you that the allegations against the Accountant General of the Federation is motivated by an anti-corruption battle. Of course it's not. They must have their own infighting that is going on. And there are going to be casualties in their Game of Thrones. But let nobody be fooled into thinking that there is an anti-corruption battle going on. Anything but, please, it's an infight amongst them. They know why they're having their intra-class battles. But it will not result in anything that would affect the poor man on the street. It will not move the needle in any anti-corruption war, because there is none. The problem of Nigeria is not corruption, it's impunity. And Okorocha knows that. He also knows that the levels of impunity will be shifted in his favor once the balance is restored in their coven. So we can discuss this and be having our episodic gyrations, talk about it, enjoy the talk, but it changes nothing. Rochas is merely paying for not doing what he's meant to do in the coven. When they are done punishing him within the coven, me and you will not be caught. We won't know anything about it. It will end there. Noise. End of story. After all the drama with Dino Melaye, what happened to him? Nothing. Nothing. Fayose? Nothing. Name one that they have prosecuted in 7 years. Nothing. Nothing will happen to him. We can enjoy talking about this in another year. I'm telling you straight up, unless the system changes to hold it, even the people chasing Rochas needs to be chased. So it's not a situation that should excite us as citizens, quote and unquote, because it really doesn't affect us. It's their own infighting. This is yet another one of their wars. Do not die in their war. It's their war. It's not about us.
I'm curious, when you say that, there are reasons, and those reasons are personal to the people, in your words, the coven. What sort of a threat would Okorocha be? I mean, in the scheme of things, let's look at it from the presidential ticket angle. I mean, in terms of weight and who would be able to appeal across the board, does he even, fall between the first five? I'm just curious. So much so that I'm trying to understand, your narrative. If it were something I would buy into, how heavy is an Okorocha in the scheme of things, if it be anything to go by what you're saying, that it's because he's not playing to the script? And I'm wondering, what script?
Let me explain something to you. I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, and I'm not one. But when something does not add up, when you reason normally, then you're forced to begin to look at those things that might not appear to be sane because the situation is simply not sane. Now, you said, of what significance really is Okorocha in the scheme of things? You say that because you assume that they are all playing for the presidency. Imo State is in a state of flux. There has been an ongoing battle between Okorocha and the current governor of Imo State. They've had that ongoing battle for a while. You've had people kidnapped in churches. You now have a situation where the man is saying, look, for good or for bad, I have purchased 100 million naira ticket for the presidency. I want to be screened, and if you are arresting me at this time, I am not going to be able to attend the screening, thus ensuring that I cannot even qualify to proceed further. Now, if a man has a court appearance for the 30th of the month, has been absconding consistently since he was first charged in January. Last appearance was in March. They say he's been dodging and running away from being served. Question is this is not a civil trial. You don't run away from being served. You already charged the person to court. The important thing is to revoke the bail if he is not showing up. The timing of the arrest, the severity of the force deployed, that is, of course, not to discount the fact that the man also acted like a truant by not submitting himself once he saw them. He cannot talk about an arrest warrant at that point. So I'm not suggesting that Okorochas had been treated any different from any of the persons that the EFCC had deployed its forces against. But I am saying that considering the timing, considering also that this is an administration that has shown itself to be very, very comfortable with corruption. This man is not different from any one of the other members of the coven. There is nothing about, he is not more corrupt than the other members of that coven. But in this case, he is trying to become the president in the coven. Let's let this sink in for a second. I'm saying to you that a two-time governor of Imo State, a sitting senator of the Republic, was hauled out of his home like any common criminal or even a fellow citizen who has not done anything other than being suspected of having done something of nothing substantial had been established, he is treated like that. Now, is that the usual way they treat themselves? That kind of treatment is reserved for commoners like me and you. When you see that kind of treatment deployed, you now have to start asking yourself, what is different this time around? Rochas and other members of their coven are more comfortable and they will know exactly what they have bought from each other. But I'm simply saying, if corruption was the basis for the arrest of Rochas Okorocha, the Nigerian Senate should be emptied of senators. They shouldn't be able to have quorum in that place, or in the federal cabinet for that matter. So I'm simply saying that look beyond the noise. It's the election season. The man was, if it was about buying votes and the buy delegates, the man could jolly well have emerged as a presidential candidate if he had enough money to deploy. So, and that maybe they think the 2.9 billion has been kept to be deployed at the election grant. For whatever reason, I think we should pay attention. Yes, he has a criminal charge in front of him, but this could have been managed differently. He left it open to the suspicion that they are political on that own. What they have done in their coven is not my business. I don't know, but that is the appearance that it has given.
Okay, let's talk about, because you've raised a lot of very interesting points. I've listened to conversations about this on the radio. I've watched other people talk about it. It calls to question the seriousness about the war against corruption, whether it be now, whether it be before, even in the future. Again, what does this say about our crime-fighting institutions, especially the EFCC, the ICPC? Have they ever worked? Because it calls to question all of the people who have ever been taken in by the EFCC. And with the drama that we saw a few days ago, it calls to question all of those things. And then, this is a three-pronged question. What about the trust of the average Nigerian in leadership in general, whether it be on the at the state level or at the federal level, in fighting whatever it may be, whether it be corruption, and of course, those who are looting from the nation's coffers?
Well, you've asked a lot of questions, so let's unpack them one by one. One, it would be delusional for anyone to suggest that there is an anti-corruption war going on in Nigeria today or at any time in the last 20 years or thereabout. There hasn't been one. There has never been one. What you've seen have been episodic appearances of that carnival, that circles of anti-corruption that is designed to distract the people and to then give them the impression that something is being done. Meanwhile, the real problem has never been corruption. The real problem has always been impunity. The refusal to ensure that there are due punishment for crime, not even arrest in most cases. So let's forget those lies and the charade. In 7 years, who has been convicted aside from the poor Yahoo boy or the one who... He's always been the petty criminals. The EFCC, in all fairness, let's be truthful to ourselves. That institution, there are good men and women there. They will do well if they were in a society that is allowed to function the way one should function. Most of them, I've had occasion to speak with a few. They have a lot of regrets about the way their works are usually scattered by their political overlord. But it does not change the fact that the body is redundant because the political will to allow it to do its job is simply not there. The Nigerian political class cannot afford to fight corruption because itself is rooted. You just need to look at the entirety of the ongoing political circles of primaries and all of them. That's sufficient to let you know. Let's keep that to one side. You talk about the erosion of public trust. Nigerians have given up on this country. Let's be sincere with ourselves. We are all hoping that something will change, that something will happen to catalyze some change. But the truth of the matter is that no Nigerian that I know of is waiting to see something happen in the area of anti-corruption, because we've all come to realize that there is no such thing. It's not going to happen. Those who should be doing it are the most corrupt, and they have no interest in doing anything about it. So the public trust in the capacity of the system for self-correction or for anything remotely resembling anti-corruption drives, the people don't expect it. We've all become completely cynical because we can see repeatedly our hopes have been dashed. Buhari came on the wing of change. He was promising. The biggest credential of General Buhari was anti-corruption and his capacity to fight insecurity on both counts. Negative, zero. So the capacity is gone. The people themselves have lost hope. So if you are still talking about public trust, forget about it. It's gone. We already know that we are being ruled by a coterie of thieves. We sometimes hope that maybe one will pity us and be a little nicer and less venal. But the reality is that nothing has changed. If anything, it's grown worse in fact, the truth is it has grown worse under the APC. We've never seen corruption this brazen.
Okay.
Jonathan, sorry, please, one final point. Jonathan never appointed a person who had EFCC charges on his neck into his cabinet. And that was the person we all said was the most corrupt at that time. But today, how many ministers in that cabinet have EFCC charges on their necks? Or had, I should say. But that's another story for another day.
Like you mentioned earlier, we're in the election season. Everybody's campaigning. People are putting out adverts and speaking, nicely and rolling out the best of vocabularies, asking for our votes once again. But all that you have said, not to sound like I do not believe or I'm skeptical, but there are people who also do believe that the EFCC is working, is trying its best. But if we are to go forward as a country, should this be a wake-up call to us? And do you think that we've gotten to the point where we are certain, we are resolute that we will not vote in yet another person who we will be crying about in the next 4 years? Or I think the other way to ask it is when will we be able to wake up to our responsibilities as voters and understand that we can't have it business as usual?
Look, the Nigerian is a long way off from beginning the journey to rectitude. In the last, I believe in the last couple of weeks, I have had several opportunities to be despondent about the chances of our country. And this is because an electoral cycle is upon us. Probably the most important election, if one will hold, in my lifetime. But the average Nigerian is so disconnected from the system that I am afraid that we might not be able to do the needful. But I will still hold on to some shred of optimism. Let's continue to watch what the process will throw up. Perhaps there might come a candidate who might come with a message of hope and a message of change. But the current set are just grave diggers. I don't see anything to provoke hope currently. But you don't know what tomorrow might bring. And we live in hope. Perhaps somebody will come with a message, with a vision that might galvanize the Nigerian people. But as of today, all I'm hearing are people preaching personnel changes, none of which will save us. What you are saying under Buhari with the EFCC, with the Okorocha's episode, pull it back a little and you remember that you saw something similar with Fayose crying over his neck, wearing the braids upside down. You saw it with Dino jumping out of moving bus. You saw it with Timpre. You saw it with Alamie. It's a long history. When we have a transformational leader who has vision behind which to unite the people, we might come out of this mess. But our chances are dwindling by the day because personnel changes won't save us.
I mean, at times like this, people make mention of the fact that we have a national orientation agency that's half past dead. Political parties are only canvassing for votes that will help them win the position. Maybe a few people like you who are interested in, educating the average voter. I see that, people like you are having those conversations, but at what capacity? Because again, one person can do just this much. Do we need more of these conversations to be had, not just on the radio, not on TV, but where more and more people can be, educated as to their rights, as to how they can participate? Because we keep asking for strong institutions to be built, but where do we start the building process?
So, no Voltron is going to save Nigeria. There is no Voltron anywhere. There is no Superman. It's going to be the average Nigerian coming to the knowledge of the fact that he has no other country to call his home. He has to be the one to stand up and save himself. Looking to the political class is a waste of time. However, leadership is key in every situation. So yes, we will continue to agitate in our own little space and with as many platforms as are available to us to reach the people, to educate them. But that's the best we can do. We can only seek to educate, hoping that the people themselves will come to the knowledge of the fact that selling their conscience, selling their votes, detaching from the process, or finding alternative means of engagement with the system, which only exacerbates our situation, would not serve the purpose. We all need to find the engagement with the process. There are many beautiful young men and women working all over the country. I know a few. They speak in the area of voters education, mobilization of voters, citizens to go and register to vote. But how is INEC helping that process? Look to the ongoing primaries in the parties. You're seeing that even the political parties, they are clearly not designed as agents of change. They're just platforms for the capture of power. So a lot still needs to change. It might be that we're still with enough time to do something, or it might very well be that the change is already out of our own hands. But what is clear is that looking to individuals for anything beyond totem leadership and direction pointing is a waste of time. It has to be the people acting in concert before anything can change. Okay. Individuals can only inspire by their own examples, but that's all they are, individuals.
Okay.
The people themselves have to get to the point. It becomes quite frustrating when you seek to explain things to.
I think that we lost that connection. Mr. Faratimi, can you hear me? I think we lost that connection, but Dele Faratimi is a political analyst.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, we lost you briefly. Well, because time is not on our side, I want to say thank you very much for being part of the conversation. We'll only hope that things can get better.
Thank you.
All right, Dele Faratimi is a political analyst and he has been talking to us. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we will be discussing the resignation of Peter Obi from the People's Democratic Party. Stay with us.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station Plus TV Africa and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
Former Governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi, has dumped the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and his presidential ambition. He explained that recent developments within the party were responsible for his resignation from the opposition party and withdrawal from its presidential primary slated for the end of May. Obi was one of the 15 PDP presidential aspirants cleared by Senator David Mark-led Presidential Screening Committee last month. The party had recently thrown its presidential ticket open, attracting rebuke from social cultural organizations like Ohanaeze Ndigbo, which maintained that political parties like the PDP and the APC should zone their tickets to the southeast geopolitical zones. Well, joining us to discuss these are Opunabo Inko Tario, a political analyst, and Ezekiel Nyaitok, who's a politician. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thanks for having us. Good evening, Marianne.
Great.
Good evening, Nigeria.
Mr. Nyaitok, I'll start with you because you have been a PDP member before. And I remember the last time we had a conversation, you talked about some of the things that happened within the People's Democratic Party, internal democracies-wise. With the message that was put out on Peter Obi's social media handle, of course, the letter-headed statement, and the abrupt, resignation from the party, does it seem like something that was done in a haste or something that had been in the works?
Yes. I have been a member of the PDP for a very long time. And in the year 2010, I woke up one morning, called a press conference, and resigned my membership of the PDP. It was at the time that I was enjoying everything that could be enjoyed in the PDP, relationship from the presidency to my state, to my governor, and everything was going well for me by way of being a party man. As a matter of fact, if you look in the social media, you see my son, my first son, Anyekan, having a handshake with Mr. President then in his office. That's a one-on-one with Mr. President, while I had a one-on-one with my governor. So everything was going on well. But I asked myself, is this really what I want as a person? And the answer was obviously no. PDP had all the opportunities, everything that was needed for it to be in power for the next 60 years. But they lost the vision. They lost the focus. It became not longer that vehicle of governance, but a kind of, Game of Thrones, the powers. It was about the paraphernalia of the office, the powers of the office. It was not about governance anymore. And I couldn't stand it. Fast forward, what happened? They lost 5 governors and they said, oh, it doesn't matter. It couldn't be bothered. Nothing will happen. We'll still be in power. I called them and said, there's something really wrong fundamentally. Think about it. Oh, you are being intellectual. Forget it. Bottom line, they lost election. Now today, the 2 most viable candidates, 3 most viable courted candidates are from the PDP. Who are they? Kwankwaso, today, do by any rating, is the man that controls the North. Mr. Peter Obi, by any, and in fact, is one of the biggest news, and there was no news if you were not something from the PDP. And third, even former President Jonathan, who is being courted for more reasons than one, is from the PDP. And PDP has let the 3 of them go without thinking. So I think that Mr. Peter Obi is a friend, and he's a very intellectual person. He's a very calculating person. And he's wanted to show himself, prove himself So he got to the Nigerian public and he sold himself. Nigerians bought him. And he was expecting that PDP will think for the first time in a long time. And he pushed it till when the window was about to close. And he said, guy, I can't take this anymore. But always, I think he knew that there was a plan B. It's like a discussion that I had with Mr. Kwankwaso, who is my very good friend as well. And he told me something, which, I mean, there's nothing to hide. He said, look, I'm a politician. I've been into politics. If I go into primaries, he said, this guy, he called 1, 2, 3, 4 names, big names. He said, each of them will beat him in the primaries. Each of them will beat him silly in the primaries. But the four...
Oh, I think that we lost that connection with Mr. Nyaito. Mr. Nyaito, can you hear me? I think that we lost that connection. Okay, Opunabo, I'm going to toss to you until we get him back. A lot of people have called out former Governor Peter Obi, saying that this is a huge mistake and that he probably didn't think it over before making this move. But do you think this was a huge mistake on his part, leaving the PDP?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, Peter Obi probably would have, or definitely would have cogitated on his actions, on the steps he was to take, would have weighed the pros and cons, and probably convinced that, yes, this was the best option for him. Obviously, he wasn't quite explicit in his letter, no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, Peter Obi is from a zone where you have more candidates with less delegates. That is one. And there is the possibility that definitely he wasn't going to win the primaries. And so he felt there was no point continuing with it because you have how many candidates from the Southeast? And when you look at the delegates, how many delegates do they have? Or does the Southeast have? So obviously it's a blind alley. And more so, he felt that his chances in the PDP are quite dim because of the number of candidates there. So let him go to a party where he's going to be the only shining light. No doubt he has the clout, he has the acceptability, the legitimacy, and so on. But definitely that would have been quite difficult to achieve in the PDP, where the space is to a very large extent constricted. And I think that's why he defected. He withdrew from the PDP and also from the primaries and also defected.
You said that he left because you think it's the number of delegates that he had from his zone, and he saw maybe
the chances. In summary, the chances.
Yes,
no
chances.
Less delegates, more aspirants.
But I mean, if it was just that, couldn't he have just stepped down and thrown his support behind someone else, as he did the last time when he supported former Vice President Atiku Abubakar? And I'm not insinuating that he should support him this time, but I'm saying, could he have not supported somebody else, maybe from the South?
No, that definitely is not an option, because don't forget that there is a stern warning from the leaders of the Southeast that they should never play the second fiddle. That is number one. And number two, he's not ready. He wants to be the president. So he's not ready to be the vice president to anybody, if not even to his fellow Igbo brothers. He doesn't believe that they are better. He believes he's better. But sadly, probably he's not going to achieve that dream, realize that dream on the platform of the PDP. And if there are chances that he's going to realize that dream, his dream will go to fruition on the platform of any other political party, then why not leave? Why not defect? There's nothing wrong with that. There's actually nothing wrong with that.
Well, as we all know, and those of us who've been watching social media, we could see that same evening where he posted his resignation from the People's Democratic Party, he was seen shaking hands and meeting with the presidential candidate of the NNPP, which is former Governor Kwankwaso, which also has raised eyebrows. Now, you just mentioned that the South and the leaders have also, sternly warned candidates, or rather aspirants, not to play second fiddle. If he's going to a political party where and I'm saying this because I have interviewed the leadership of that party, and they had said succinctly to me that they have an unopposed presidential candidate. If this be true, what is former Governor Peter Obi doing courting the NNPP leader, or rather presidential aspirant?
Well, these are mere conjectures that you that probably extrapolate from what we see, no doubt about that. Not that we are quite sure of the facts. Yes, you might see him with Kwakwanso, but that does not mean that he's going to be the vice president running mate to Kwakwanso, not necessarily. We have not said so. We also hear that he might probably get to SDP. We also hear that Tinubu might probably also get to SDP. These are mere conjectures, so we are not certain. I don't think that Peter Obi will defect from the PDP to any other party to be the vice presidential candidate of that party. Then it really makes no sense, because I really want to fathom the reasonableness in such an act. You can as well be the vice presidential candidate and imagine PDP candidate rather than defect. But again, probably he's done his own homework to realize who is going to emerge as the PDP candidate, presidential candidate, and is not comfortable, or that person already has his own vice presidential candidate. So these are all things that's why I said the letter is not explicit enough, So these are things that probably he would have considered and did not bring to public knowledge, because he did not actually give any cogent reason for defecting from the PDP. So he must have taken all these issues under advisement. Am I going to be a presidential candidate, or these other presidential candidates? We do already have a presidential candidate. Then what will I be doing in the PDP? Let me defect from the PDP to a party where I might likely be the presidential candidate or a running mate to the presidential candidate. So these are all the permutations, and these are all the considerations that he must have informed his decision to move from the PDP to another political party that is yet to be disclosed to the public.
All right, Mr. Nyaitok, I think we have you back. We lost you, due to connection. But I'm going to quickly pose this question. Many have also criticized the former governor of being a serial defector, that he moved from APGA to the PDP, and now he's defecting again. Who knows where he's going to, and that this might not necessarily play, in his favor. But then again, the other question is, what does this do to the ambition of the Southeast? Being that within the APC, aside from the Ebonyi State governor who is interested in running for the presidency, we had Rochas Okorocha, the senator, and of course Governor Peter Obi in the PDP. What happens to that Southeast presidential ticket call?
I think that what Mr. Peter Obi has done is probably one of the best chances that the Southeast has to produce a president.
How so?
Yes, I'll tell you this. The very first thing is that within the two main political parties, the chances of any of the people from the Southeast getting the ticket is as slim as can be. But what I bring it back, Kwankwaso did of staying out and showing he's a force is what Mr. Peter Obi will do by stepping out and showing there's a force. One of the things we've not taken into consideration is understanding the current electoral act. And in this current electoral act, we are going to have 6 to 8 months of campaigning. So what Mr. Peter Obi is going to do is take a party, run and gather momentum. Mr. Kwankwaso is going to take a party, he's already got a party, run and gather momentum. As they head into around September, it will be clear who is a principal and who is not. The ADC, you would have, I mentioned this in the morning during the newspaper review, just 2 days back, paraded 12 presidential aspirants. Nigerians couldn't believe. the quality of the people, everything. Now, what we are starting to have is an animation of a mindset reset. Wow, there is an option, there is an alternative. Yes, they are in their enclaves, but because these people are largely motivated by the fact that APC, PDP, ideology, philosophy has failed and is not okay, they are now pandering to what Nigerians would want to see and hear. To that extent, we are coming and putting the fact that it's about nation first, Nigeria first, where I happen to be the DG. You know, as a result, as each of them gathers momentum individually, the ADC is there, going to have a presidential candidate that's going to be very strong. NNPP is there. SDP is there. My friend Wale Adewale is there, doing well as well. So that around September, October, there's going to be a second level of, talking about Nigeria, putting Nigeria first. Put Nigeria above your personal ego. Put Nigeria above your personal concerns. And there's going to be that conversation and convergence. And it is at that point that you now start to forget about, your ego, I must be, I must not be. You are willing to put down in the larger interest of the nation, and form a government of national unity.
I love that optimism and where it's coming from. And I don't also want to be a prophet of doom, but looking at our, antecedents and how we are when it comes to politicking, we've seen it play out. We've seen it play out cycle in, cycle out. How many politicians, even with what is playing out now, how many of them are, showing us signs of nationhood as opposed to interest?
From what has ever happened in Nigeria.
Yeah, but you know what they say, the marriage that's going to be good, you can tell from the Bachelor's Eve. So now, right now, can we really see any display of nationhood as opposed to what you're saying that we will begin to see? I don't know when.
It's a process that Kwankwaso will come out and stand alone, that ADC will come out and have 12 presidential candidates, and if you profile each of them, they are women and men of substance, that Peter Obi will come out. You see, we can't always be victims of our past. We need to be able to open up and smell the coffee. I'll tell you this. PDP thought this way when they said they will be in power for 60 years, because they thought that you cannot defeat an incumbent. Nigerians did that. NSAS happened where we thought young people would not be able to organize themselves. It happened. Nigeria is a country that you can never say never. Because, and finally, let me end on this note. It is for you and I to dare to be optimistic.
Okay. We
can't all be doing blind analysis. We must have that second cap of daring to be optimistic.
Okay. Openaboy, I could hear you giggle because I asked that question because the mind of the average voter is what we're playing at here. Now, we like the idea that there are more people that are coming up. Political parties are beginning to own, their place in, the political space. But how do you sway these voters away from the umbrella and the broom? I like the fact that, as he said, the ADC has 12 political presidential aspirants, something that's never really happened before. But then the voters who we're targeting here, have we gotten to that point where we have outgrown the PDP and the APC and then begin to say, well, I'm not going to vote for the party, I'm going to vote for a person?
Let me tell you.
I'm sorry, this question is the question is for Opunabo. The question is for Opunabo.
I was one of those that criticized the Supreme Court judgment that said you vote for the parties and not the individuals. Because in Nigeria, the political parties have no ideology. And in Nigeria, the electorate vote for the individuals. They are godfathers and so on. They don't vote for parties. If today your principal is a member of PDP and it defects to another political party, all his followers will defect with him to that political party. It has nothing to do with the party. It has to do with your principle. So if Peter Obi has the clout, for example, as he's leaving the PDP, just as when he left President Abga, those who were his loyalists left with him to PDP. Now he's leaving the PDP. They will all live with him leave the PDP with him to any political party he's going to. So it has nothing to do with the political party, because we don't, unlike America, where you have ideologies and you believe in the party ideology, and that is why you're a member of that party. In Nigeria, it's not like that. You're a member of that party because your boss is a member, your mentor is a member of that party, and that is why you're a member of that party. So when it comes to followership, it will definitely not going to affect Peter Obi, because he's going to live with those that believe in him and those that see him as a mentor. That is the truth about it.
Well, gentlemen, time is not on our side. Well, let's hope upon hope that things would change for the better. Opunabo Nkotare is a political analyst. Ezekiel Nyaitok is a politician. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for speaking with us.
Thank you. I'm going to be
having us.
All right. Well, thank you all for staying with us. We have come to the end of the show tonight, but don't forget, tomorrow is another day. Of course, we will be talking for development, 7 p.m. right here on Plus Politics. I'm Mary Arnacle. Do have a great evening.
Tehran's Hafte Square is a hub of activity even at night. Along with shops and restaurants, there's also underground business taking place. It's known as one of the neighborhoods where prostitutes and their clients can meet. In Iran's religiously conservative society, prostitution is not only illegal, even discussing it in the media is taboo. But RFERL's Radio Farda was able to interview sex workers from different walks of life, as well as their clients and employers. They spoke openly, using pseudonyms, about a thriving business that often takes place just out of view. Studies by independent researchers have found that around 50% of Iranian sex workers are married. Many are university students or still in secondary school. And an Iranian welfare organization found that girls as young as 12 work in the sex trade. But crackdowns by the police are rare, according to Pari, who works as a so-called auntie, arranging business for other women.
کلا مامورا خیلی به پرپاتون نمیپیچن؟
آلا نکنی نه کاری نداره نهایتش اینه که حق حسابشو میگیره ولی نه به من که گیر نداره
چرا؟
آلا نیستم.
If someone is caught, a judge can impose prison time or lashes. and punishment is more likely to be handed to sex workers than to their clients. That allows some clients to take a casual attitude toward paying for sex, even counting it as a routine expense.
الان اگه نرخ امروز بخوام بگم کمترینش 200 تومنه، بیشترینش دیگه 1 تومن 2 تومن اینا هست. من خودم مثلا شاید ماهی مثلا 2 تومن اینا، ولی دوستان هستن که مثلا ماهی 5 تومن قشنگ دارن.
A number of women describe the harsh economic pressure that drove them into sex work. Iran is in the midst of its worst financial crisis since the 1980s, driven partly by punitive U.S. sanctions.
اوضاع خرابه، ما خیلی خوشمون نمیاد ولی دیگه مجبوریم. الان همه چی گرون شده، بعد یه جوری خرج زندگیمون رو در بیاریم دیگه.
دیگه پول بخوام کار نداشته باشم، خب دیگه این کار بلدم دیگه.
یه کاری پیدا بشه که درآمدش بیشتر باشه باز انجام میدی؟
اگه کاری پیدا بشه که درآمدش بیشتر بشه قبل از این پیداش کرده بودم.
The economic pressure has only worsened during the coronavirus crisis. Sex workers who can't afford to lose their incomes must add the threat of COVID-19 to the other risks they take.
قضیه تکیه کنم دیگه من هیچ جا باید نباید برم دیگه، یعنی دیگه باید از گشنگی بمیرم. بخوام از مریض بترسم انقدر واقعا نیاز دارم مجبورم برم. بخوام خیلی هم رعایت کنم و خیلی.
Some women also spoke about being coerced into sex work, even by family members.
اولین بار من چند بود، من 17 سالم بود که به یه پسر پولدار بود به مامانم گفته بود این دختر تو اگه بیاری مثلا من باشه، من اون موقع نرخ حالا مثلا 80 تا 50 تومن بود، گفتم من 1 میلیون بهت میدم دختر تو بده یه شب پیش من باشه. از اون زمان من دیگه واقعا دختر نبودم که هنوزم دیگه ادامه داره. این با مامانم با هم میریم پیش، حالا مامانم جدیدن دیگه یه سالی نمیاد. خب منم خیلی حالا نسبت به مامانم خیلی بیشتر طلبه داشتم به قول معروف.
Sex work is shrouded in secrecy in contemporary Iran, but the situation was different before the 1979 Islamic Revolution. One Tehran neighborhood was a legal gray zone. Prostitution was tolerated there. But many women and girls were the victims of trafficking, as one woman explained in this 1966 documentary.
اینا هم که 9 سال، 8 سال، 10 سال، 15 سال دارن، اینا را توی جمشید شبا میبرن استفاده میکنن، میبرن تو خیابونا میفروشن شبا به راننده ها، به مثلا مردمی که میخرن، به مردای مثلا عرق خورو فلان میبرن میفروشن.
In the midst of the upheaval of 1979, the neighborhood was attacked by revolutionaries who set an apartment building on fire. An unknown number of residents died. Months later, 3 well-known madams were executed on the orders of a conservative judge.
خدا می‌فرماید قاتلوا ائمة الکفر با سردمداران فساد پیکار کنید و حالا هم وقت اون رسیده است.
Today, with prostitution driven underground, some sex workers are in favor of legalization, saying that would give them greater safety.
اگه بتونیم کارمون رو قانونی انجام بدیم و بهداشتی باشه، هم برای خودمون بهتره، برای سلامت خودمون بهتره. همینی که دیگه آسیبی به جامعه نمیرسونه.
But that seems impossible in an Islamic theocracy like Iran. The women who try to earn a living this way must do so in the shadows, with all the dangers that entails.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Sayuame Saleh, in a good mood, and I have with me the lovely, delectable Elsie Godwin.
Hello.
And we are going solo today.
Hello.
Hi, Elsie.
Hello. I'm fine, thank you.
You're looking lovely.
Thank you.
This is your African representation.
Yes, please. I'm a Nigerian.
Absolutely, we can
Proud
see that.
African.
We can see that. How are you?
Okay, right.
How was your day?
I'm good. My day was restful, good. Finally, in a happy place.
Oh, that's lovely. There's nothing like peace of mind. You can't trade it for anything in the world.
Don't joke with it.
Absolutely. Like these days, I have zero threshold for anything that distorts my peace. So if I see that, if it's a human being, I remove you from the equation. If it is,
and I think some people are just deliberately troublesome. They just want to be bottlenecks.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that is how they get their high or that's what makes them happy. But I had to put up something, although that one was based on relationship angle, where someone was saying that they noticed that people gravitate better to people who don't treat them right. So in a relationship, like if a guy comes to you and he likes you, for him to be there and still being a nice person to you, then you have to not be a nice person to him. And
so opposite attracts.
You know, like I'm like, that's too much stress. Like if at this age you don't know what you want, you can't be nice to people that are nice to you, then what's the point? Please, if your own relationship is going to be fueled by violence and
because they say good girls always attract the bad guys. Well, I don't think that is true. So I actually like, there's a lot that is
I love reciprocation.
Yes. If I give you all of me, I expect you to also reciprocate.
It's that simple.
Right? But it's funny because again, so
and that's
now,
the case for a lot of people actually.
Yes, and that's why now, if you don't respect my time, because you know what, I'm a conversation person. If I spend time to talk to you, call you, check up on you, you do not reciprocate that. Stay in your corner.
No point.
There's no point.
Really
You have to learn to begin to.
When they say unconditional love, it's not working. I'm not Jesus.
You need to declutter. Yeah, you need to always declutter what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So today we are discussing Nigeria. I want to declutter what is working.
Discussing Nigeria?
It's not possible. We have to declutter what is working for us as a country and what's not working for us. We're discussing what kind of leaders do we want, right? When we're looking out for leadership, because we're already seeing the way the structure is.
We're seeing our options.
We are seeing our options. Thank you. All right. So, and yes, what we found as today's quote: leaders don't create followers; they create more leaders. I mean, if you understand this quote, you would know that. Right? What we have today with a lot of subserviency, with a lot of people, grooming people that will come cap in hand all the time, that's not leadership. So we need to start finding leaders that are confident enough to be able to raise more leaders, as opposed to people coming cap in hand. All right, so the clock is winding down very fast on President Muhammadu Buhari's regime. And as we prepare for the change of power in 2023, we want to identify and redirect our minds to who a leader is and what really matters to us when it comes to leadership. So it's our Ladies Night Out. Elsie and I will be discussing this road to 2023, and we're asking what kind of leaders do we want as a people, right? And when we open our phone lines, we'd really love to hear what you have to say about this. But first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news. Thanks for staying with us. National Macaron Day is a holiday that's observed annually on the 31st of May and celebrates a small biscuit that's made from ground almond, coconut sugar, and combination of other ingredients. It's not to be confused with the macaron, a French dessert that's made using two light meringue biscuit. That one is serious. That has been put together with ganache between them. Now, a macaron is instead a cookie or something, sometimes a mound of shredded coconut and eggs that's baked into a delicious cookie. I actually mistook it for that. That means I've never tasted this. Because it's the same spelling. Macarons are the round ones that it's like clipped together like cookies.
My darling, I don't know. It
comes in blue, pink, and I think cream color.
I know they know it's I don't know. I don't know. Give me some amala fam. Give me some ewedu. Give me some egusis. Give me some pounded
But it's not like,
yam.
Instagram
Give
is
me
wicked.
some eba. I don't understand all these things you are talking
Elsie,
about.
this amala you just said, Instagram is wicked because one of my favorite food to eat, one of my all-time favorite is amala. Begiri. Ewedu. Then you now put the omiobe. The pepper one with ogufe and the fish and the
assorted.
Orishi. They say we shouldn't call it. I saw a page on Wine. They say we could not call it shaki. Abitowe. Some call it tribe. Abiti call it.
Shaki. Egdo. Abodi. So I'm not supposed to eat after 7 o'clock, but I don't know what's going to happen after the show, man.
It's like Instagram is always chasing after me. Every little time I just open this Instagram.
And the phone is near you listening, so it's to chase you more, actually.
Instagram is not nice, so it's not nice.
So I don't know what national,
Macron Day. But Macron is actually nice. So I think I've tasted something like this.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Those small treats you have, when you want to host different people, just have different things that you experiment with.
Okay. Can we move on?
We can also put small amala and we do it post.
Now you're talking. So that we that are local, forget that I'm looking like this. I'm a very ibile, we take what we want.
What did you find for us in the news?
Okay, so I just want to mention that the Federal High Court in Abuja grants the former governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, bail. So while granting him bail, the judge imposed a 500 million naira bail bond with a surety in a like sum who must be within the jurisdiction of the courts. He was also ordered to deposit his international passport with court registry. Recall that EFCC had in January filed a 17-count charge against Mr. Okorocha over allegations of cornering 2.9 billion naira public funds while in office. But attempts to get the former Imo State governor to stand trial were futile until the EFCC raided his Abuja residence. He was arrested after a 6-hour siege to his home. It's also interesting and of importance for me to note that this man in question is a presidential aspirant on the platform of the All Progressive Congress.
And again, he has sued the federal government I think he sued them of 1 billion naira for damages to his apartment when they came to, evade the house to be able to arrest him. All right, so I have two interesting stories.
Yeah.
What, you want to say something?
I want to say that I like that the conversation we're having today, and maybe this will come in that conversation, because we want to look at how to really spot who our leaders are. I think the level of impunity and disregard for the rule of law we have in this country
it's too much.
Is going off the roof. Like it's not just crazy. It's like normal now. You can do it there, you are in the EFCC,
even though the person is guilty, you still have to follow due process. Look at the actress, Oyin Lex, I think, how do I pronounce her name, that shared videos of members of NDLEA, because they were wearing NDLEA jerseys, scaling through her fence, like she was literally shaking. She said she had a child in the house and she had her niece with her. And they scaled through the fence. Before she could say Jack, they were already in her kitchen, her living room, going up and down in the house. They now came out and said that they found what's it called? That they found that somebody ran into her compound or something. They chased somebody there. Well, she said she's gone through the proper. I'm hoping that she has already reported it to the police, and again, her lawyers have written to NDLEA because it's just not nice. How can do you think it's right for you to? So now, if she even says a billionaire was in her house when they came, they don't have it. They cannot say that no, you are lying. No, she will sue them for damages. It's just sad. I have some interesting stories I would like to share. This one actually is worrisome at the same time. I'm just wondering, okay, this thing is actually not unique to Nigeria. So they say that in Zimbabwe, that people have started selling their toes for thousands of dollars, and this is due to the high cost of living and the failure of government to create jobs. Now, the big toe, according to the reports, is sold for $40,000. That's about 60 million naira if you convert it. Then, while the smaller toes are sold for $20,000, and I think the pinky toe is sold for about $10,000. So. I'm wondering, first of all,
what do they use
toe collectors?
What do they use it for?
What do they use it for? Because is this for rituals? Is it a fetish? Is it something, I don't understand. But you see, this thing might sound like, no, But we are getting there gradually. People will start trying to sell human parts, like your what's it called, your organs. I want to sell one of my kidneys.
Well, we've always heard that people sell their kidney.
Yes.
Though. I think that was well, I don't have proof.
So this is really, really
just,
scary, and this is happening in Zimbabwe. Yeah. So we'll just keep an eye on that story. Then I saw something, and I thought it was worthy of mention, given that we also have a pending conversation on suicide that we had not talked about. Toke Makinwa posted something. Let me see if I can pull out that post. So she posted something on Twitter about marriages, and she said that Nigerian men's definition of a strong woman is long-suffering, emotional abuse, and high tolerance of accepting bad behavior. You hear them say she turned the boy in me into a man.
Now she born you.
Wait now. That means her name is endurance, and the woman has endured. And she then goes, says, society encourages that sort of narrative. Women are seen as strong by the amount of, that's BS, she's has to endure, till the man was ready to give her peace. Now, when they meet the women who stand up for themselves, the society then labels them a wayward or too opinionated.
Not
so who
fit
is
for
society
marriage.
again? She's asking, yes. Somebody now, so she now said they automatically think that being alone at a certain age means that you're miserable. Would you not rather be 55 and alone than enduring someone's BS? Now, if that's the definition of miserable, I beg, what would you rather be? She was now asking me a question. Then somebody then goes to say, go and live your anyhow life. Nobody cares about the nonsense you have to say until you get to 55 without a husband. Your eye will open. Now, so when I saw this response, I now remember the 47-year-old woman in Lekki. I think they said that the company she was working with as the accountant was Glow, that committed suicide. And the reports that were gathering was the fact that because she didn't have child.
But they've come to debunk it. People that are close to her and her
say
family
that
members
is not
that
why.
she has actually been suffering from depression.
No, I'm just trying to say that.
Time.
Why do you think, first of all, single ladies and all of them, most single ladies will go through depression in a society like this, that believes that you are nothing, you are not accomplished until you are married? Do you understand? It makes no sense. People can genuinely be happy being single. If you are in a marriage and the marriage is not giving you peace, you're worse in hell. I know somebody that was happy when the husband died.
Wow.
She heaved a sigh of relief. That,
what?
Praise God.
Wow.
Finally. Yes! Because society will tell you stay in a marriage that you're not at peace with. It makes no sense.
Wow.
So I'm just saying that when you hear responses like this, when somebody is saying that until you are 55 and you're whatever, it makes, you need to understand that people have their own battles that they face. Some people, marriage they are better off single. And some men do not deserve women. Also, some women do not deserve men. It's better you are on your own.
You know, the thing is, unfortunately, I've come to realize that the number of people with this, that understands this the way you're saying it, are not a lot. Right, and you probably have a lot more of them on social media, being able to express themselves and to also encourage people to tell them that you can live your life the way you absolutely choose to live it. The larger majority still hold on to the fact that a woman must be married. I mean, I asked the question when I saw the wedding announcement or marital announcement of the this man we're talking about. We're watching his video just now. What's his name? Olumide Akpata. The president of NBA, right?
Is Nigerian Bar Association.
And it was interesting for me because I started asking around, because I mean, if I'm not doing business with you, we're not in the same office, your personal life is not my problem, right? Even if we are doing business, it's really not my problem. So I just, out of curiosity, was asking, is this his first marriage? Has he been married before? What happened? And they were like, it's his first marriage. And I'm wondering, if that was a woman and had never married, would they have allowed her to be the NBA president? A lot of things will come under scrutiny, like, oh, she couldn't stay in a husband's home, she's not decent enough, she has been doing this and that, she dated this. But all that conversation, none of it came up when he was running, and which was why it was quite surprising for me, because of course I'm happy for him, but you get where I'm coming from, right? So the larger society, even women themselves, they are the ones who bring women down, you know. So
I'm tired of having this conversation. All I know for myself is that I will do what works for me. I will do what makes me happy. If it doesn't work for you, if it doesn't make you happy, it is absolutely not my problem.
I see.
And I've stopped responding. I've stopped giving attention to such conversation. If you're my friend and you even maybe mistakenly, maybe you allow yourself to be carried away to start the chat, I'll just leave you pending until we get to another conversation that works for both of us. I don't argue it. I don't quarrel. I'm like, I go mute until we come back to the right conversation.
So
it's that simple.
The truth is, marriage in itself, if we understand marriage, is the most beautiful thing.
No, it is.
That anybody would wish
have,
for.
yeah.
When
If you get it right.
When you get it right.
Yeah.
When you have the right partner that understands you, both of you understand each other and respect each other. Do you understand? Because I've said this time and again, and I want men to start defining why you need a wife or who a wife is to you. Some men do not understand the definition of a wife, or they do not know what a wife should be, or they don't have an idea of who a wife should be to them. If it is somebody that you want to have sex with, you can have sex with anybody. There's somebody that can fulfill that role. If it's someone that needs to cook for you as a woman, as a man, there's somebody that can fulfill that role. All those roles are delegatable. Is it somebody that needs to cook for you, clean for you, have sex with you? Those roles can be delegated to people. Right? So if you understand the power of companionship and why you need a person like both of you rooting for each other's success and growth, then you understand that marriage is supposed to be a tag team. So it's not everybody right now that are fit for marriage. But because society puts that pressure to say you must be married, then you're now going to a marriage. At the end of the day, you're not looking for an escape route. Like some women will just wait and be praying to God. Do you know how many people that I've seen on social media? Did you watch the video on social media of the woman that the husband died and she was with the decomposing body for days somewhere in Lagos? I can't remember where now. She's gone bonkers, like, because she was hysterical. She was not coordinated. There are so many stories that you go on social media now. I run away from social media. You either see boyfriend stabbing wife or husband killing. People are killing each other. Why? So if it is not working, it is okay for it not to work. But for you to be in a relationship, you must understand the why. Don't say because society expects you to be married, so you just find an available person and you get married. No.
Okay,
why do you want to be married? You must define the why.
I agree, but you also need to create room in that conversation for the fact that people have the right to decide what their why is, right?
No, I've not said. No,
I get what you're saying.
I'm not saying you don't have that right.
No, I get what you're saying. I'm saying that in that understanding your why, everybody's standard is never going to be the same thing.
Definitely.
The only thing I would always say when it comes to understanding your why for marriage is if you think that marriage for you is cooking and cleaning and sex, reproduction, whatever it is, if that is what it is for you, look for the person
that accepts that,
that aligns that as what her role in life is as well.
Thank you.
You will not come to me. Please, let's talk Nigeria, my darling.
No, finish it. He was finishing.
Let's talk Nigeria.
He was hitting home, Elsie.
Let's talk Nigeria, fam.
All right, let's talk Nigeria. We are catching too much fun on this matter. You know, maybe it's because it's 2 of us. I'm just having fun.
All right. We're not doing ways. Let's do ways.
Let's focus on ways. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, according to a publication on Business Day, a leadership study conducted by some scholars found that leaders must be astute at scanning their environment, setting high standards in their respective endeavors, and keeping abreast of the welfare of the people they govern. Now, to achieve this, most countries in the new decade, that's 2021 to 2030, will need leaders with superb attributes: integrity, commitment, courage, character, knowledge, and problem solving, amongst many others. Now, that can be used to scan an uncertain and complex world. Now, a world in a digital age, but challenged by pandemics, climate change, insecurity, political upheavals, trade wars, and economic shocks, amongst many others. I mean, you must be able to navigate all of those things as a leader. So one grime reality that confronts most nations of the world, particularly those of Africa, in the new decade is its deepening security crisis, poverty, unemployment, and inflation of high magnitude are the signatures of most African countries. Now, Nigeria is not exempted. In Nigeria, we witness political decay, desperate struggle of state managers and political class over the control of economic resources, ethnic conflicts, chronic debt, burden, environmental and human insecurity, disease, crime, and famine, amongst many other things that are characterized by most part of the early 2000s also worsened, right? So whilst the political parties are busy with primaries and the selection of the selection process of their flag bearers ahead of the general elections come 2023, tonight we are asking Nigerians, right, the electorates, the ones that have the power in their hands, right, what qualities should you be looking at for your next governor, your next president or governors, your next national state and state assembly representatives, your local government chairman, because this leadership we're talking about is not restricted, or is not, presidency is not the A or B of leadership. It cuts across all the way down to the local government level. So what kinds of leaders are you looking for, you know, at these levels that I've mentioned? Now, please, let's share what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also tweet at us at Ways Show Africa 1 with the hashtag Ways Show. All right, so Elsie and I, we're flying solo, as I always said. So, first of all, when I watched all the happenings that have been going on, I've been watching all the happenings around different political parties and different levels of primaries.
Like your dedication. I have not been watching,
I have,
but
actually.
I'm catching up.
It's saddening to know that, first of all, that the kind of leaders that are even emerging, right? Apart from Peter Obi, that saw the future and decided to go to where he would not be asked to bribe or pay money to be able to emerge as the flag bearer. It is really worrisome, you know, even though I hear now that people are complaining that the dollar is fake.
I was going to mention that. Allegedly.
Allegedly, that is fake dollar that they were sharing. But is it that we do not even care anymore as to the quality of the character of the people representing us? So I was watching a video. I thought we were going to be able to download it. Pastor Ibiome was talking on social media, telling his congregants that, please, don't vote parties, because he has seen that all parties have failed. Vote the individual. You must look for a visionary leader. You must vote for that visionary leader, because right now that Nigeria is in the woods, I'm shocked I can remember everything he said. Nigeria is in the woods, and you know, we need someone that can chart that visionary path to say, okay, this is where we're going. But first of all, do we even understand what the kind of leaders that we truly need right now at this point, or we are just going with the flow? Because some people were returned back that did woefully. Some people were dropped, right? I mean, a lot of dynamics are happening. But let me hear your thoughts on this conversation as we journey towards 2023.
You don't ask plenty questions. I'm not sure I want to make an answer.
Sure, you don't write them down. No vex.
So you said something around if Nigerians know what they want. I think Nigerians do. Majority are just really helpless. Helpless, some because they genuinely are tired, some out of ignorance. Sometimes even me sitting here will be part of the ignorant set of people, especially when we don't know what our rights are and what we can do in terms of checkmating this governance. Now, the ones that are tired will then take me to those who know. But when you see what is playing out when it comes to judiciary in Nigeria, then you're wondering, does the law really work? Like, are these people not exactly above the law? Because now you're seeing Peter Obi being arrested last week, whatever.
No,
sorry. Please,
Okorocha.
Peter Obi fan, don't come for me. Rochas going to be arrested last week. They said they filed the motion since January, that they've been looking for him. But now that there is a game to be played, in terms of who gets the, what's it called now, who becomes the flag bearer for APC, they know how to go and get him and arrest him, right? So I know that we all, at least we have a common goal in terms of what we want when it comes to employment, infrastructure, economy, security, right? Even if we are divided by religion and ethnicity, we have that common goal when it comes to what do we want as people and how do we want to be led, right? So just to answer that question, I think Nigerians do. But right now for me, I think while they are preparing to give us the options, I mean, I think we have most of the options. It's just one of the major options that we're waiting for.
I saw the post. ANPP is, what's his name? I think Okonso. PDP is Atiku.
Anyway, so and I was saying
wait, let me finish it for you now. Labour Party is Peter Obi, so we're waiting for APC. Go ahead.
So, I want to see change. I think the media has a lot of job to do in even helping Nigerians decide. I want to see better interviews and better questioning. I think media, like I said, the journalists, those that will be in the forefront of this conversation, need to dig deep. Just do your job and just do it right in terms of this is my job to get the facts out to people and let them be able to see the truth, not based on PR, not based on this is the candidate that is going to fund our, you know, just do your job and help people. And I'm also hoping that the kind of debate we would get to see, that's if they will attend, will be one that it's not about casting aspersions, it's not about insulting somebody, it's not about making noise, it's about asking the right questions. What is your plan for unemployment? What do you think we should be doing to alleviate a lot of people from poverty? What do we think we should be doing if we're saying we need to really flush corruption out of our system? In fact, what is your plan when it comes to value? Because I think that is one thing across the board, not even just the leaders now, the people, from young to old, we're losing our values. And this conversation, I remember when we were having it here, and somebody was saying something about, oh, the values is from the home, Nigerians are scattered this way because parents are not doing their job. And I made an example, because when you're leading people, their security is your responsibility. It's your responsibility to make decisions that will help them make the right choices at the end of the day. If it was easy for human beings to lead themselves, I don't think we would need to have a governance or any leading structure at all. Human beings are meant to be led and directed, right? So I always give the example of what it was in Lagos State. At least this is where I grew up when it comes to wearing a seatbelt. It was never in our culture to wear seatbelts. We felt, even when the law was passed by Babatunde Raji Fashola when he was the governor of Lagos State, it was like, this guy want to kill us. What is it? Do you want us to be... We even made reference to us being strangled with seatbelts. But because of the penalty that was attached to that law and the way it was implemented, right now, when you get into your car, nobody even tells you. It's now no longer about penalties. It is now part of us. And I think that to correct some of the ills that we have in the society, we need someone who is visionary, someone who will think for the people. Because even when you say you have 200 million whatever people, in that 200 people, the most important set of people are the right-thinking people. How many of those 200 million people are the right-thinking people? And those right-thinking people are the ones who are supposed to make decisions that will even bring more people to the side of right thinking. So, I mean, that's like a digression to values. And I'm also saying there are security issues. All of us are facing it now. Before, we felt like we were untouchable in Lagos. But now, even in Lekki Phase 1, they are kidnapping people. Right? So, it is now in the doormouth of everybody. Like, we are facing it. We have pollution issue. I mean, we are not raising it, we're not talking about it, but you are driving past some areas, you're perceiving some things, and you're wondering, and people are there, like they're living there, you know, and the economy itself, how much is a dollar to naira now? So
the video posted that dollar is almost 1,000 naira.
There are issues to be discussed. We need to know what your plan is. It is not enough to tell us that I've wanted to be the president of Nigeria and I've ran for 29 and years. I've been doing it for however long. You've been doing it, you've been doling out money and everything and paying delegates, whether they say it's fake or original. What have you, if you are that passionate, What have you done? Have you tried to set up an NGO or to run something that would say, I'm going to impact these people directly, even if I'm not going to impact them from that seat at the top? I have to do it from the grassroots. What have you done?
But they will swear that some of these candidates have actually impacted
that is why I said
the people. But you see, that impact,
the media should be able to do their job and let us know what it is. Because you mentioned something about the qualities of leaders. You mentioned some. I think I'll just reel out the ones I wrote down here. They have to be empathetic, right? Integrity. Please, those people that you mentioned, which of them? Confidence. Well, they get confidence. If you don't get confidence, you won't have the track record you have and still be paying 100 million and have the hope that you want to be the president of Nigeria. So if it's that one, they have it. Accountability, I don't understand. Humility, creativity and innovation. You see this one? I think that is one of the primary qualities that can bring us out of where we are right now. Because, in fact, that even comes along with open-mindedness. Because you have to be able to listen to the voice of reason. Even if you cannot think for yourself and think for Nigeria alone, because it's not a one-man job. The people you will surround yourself with would be the reason we will move forward or we'll move backward. Do you understand? Then you have to be responsible, you have to be dependable, strategic and critical thinking. You see that creativity, innovation, strategic and critical thinking, it is a big deal. So, I mean, we have a job on our hands. Our guest yesterday was saying something about Destiny being hope, and I align with him completely in that regard. But it also lies in the job that the party majority are thinking, oh, they have the right candidate now. The work they're ready to do in terms of visibility, because we know what the voting culture is. When you get there, they're looking for the party. And we already know there's umbrella, there is broom. If you ask me sitting here, what is the icon of the other parties, I don't know. You know, so there's a lot.
There's a lot to be done. Okay, so let's go on a short break, right? We would like to open our phone lines. I would like to hear some of the qualities that you think our leaders, right, should have going forward, going into 2023 general elections. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, so thanks for staying with us. Now, if you just tuned in, it's our ladies' night out. Elsie and I we're focusing on the road to 2023, and we're asking what kinds of leaders do we want. Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also tweet at us at Wayshow Africa1 with the hashtag Wayshow. Our phone line is now open. Please, the number to call is 07025007749. 07025007749. Remember to turn off the volume of your television set so we can hear ourselves. So I just wanted to take it a bit because I think you glossed on it a bit when you talked about, when you listed all the qualities that you're looking out for, and you're asking, okay, this current crop of people that have come out as presidential flag bearers, what qualities do they have? So let's even bring it down all the way, even in the gubernatorial level, your state house of assembly, your state representatives and your federal representatives, you know, how well, first of all, do we even understand the candidates, right? Because it's going to be very difficult to get Nigerians to stop voting parties. Even though everybody is saying, do not vote party, vote individual. Now, tell me, if we were to ask, okay, except maybe the ones that made a lot of noise, like Banky W, we know that, okay, his constituency is Etiosa, you know, how many of this representatives? Because we know, for anything meaningful to happen in Nigeria, those people that are our leaders at the representative level, be it state, be it federal, they play a major role in the transformation that we are seeking in Nigeria. So what qualities are we looking out for this? Because now, these constituencies and all of those people there, they are just all about, you know, I'm just going to be there. Some of them, they've been there for 16 years. Some of them have done almost like 8 terms, 7 terms, you know. How do we even start to say, okay, you know what, these are the qualities that we are looking out for at those levels? Well, let me take our first caller for the evening. Youngest old man, thank you for calling. You're live.
Hope we're doing fine.
Yes, we're good. Thank you for calling.
Yes, you're welcome. Yes, you see, your topic today is quite strengthening, but the issue is that I don't think the average Nigerian has grown to to that strength of knowing the kind of leader he wants. Most people that their vote counts these days, that have the time to stand in the queue, they go there for something else in mind, what they can get at the moment. Just practically what happened in the PDP selection stuff. You can see what happened there. Money is the order of the day. Most people, they go to vote in the sense for them to get something. But imagine if all of us can have that understanding that voting for a leader is for you to be able to understand the history of that person, what he has been able to accomplish. For example, if somebody should be a leader, he should understand on how to grow things, not succeeding without even having his history of success. You just make it all of a sudden and you start blowing the money or out of luck. There should be a part of your growth. Just like this man said that if you have not grown wealth before, you can't manage wealth. So as to for you, if you have not led people in from the lower levels to some levels, you can't lead people even in the high places, because a leadership word is another word for calling you a servant to the people, to understand, to be able to localize your language. But these people that you see when they just cross the Abuja, they use something and block the road, and nobody will get access to them again. And even the channel they watch is different. Those people are not the kind of leaders that this country deserves now.
Youngest old man.
The problem is with the polls count.
Youngest old man, I was going to ask that.
Yes.
Peter Obi seems to be gathering a lot of momentum because based on his track record, because I want to go by what you just said, based on Peter Obi's track record in Anambra State, what he did, how he was able to even keep a reserve and all of that at that state level. He seems to be gathering a lot of, integrity quota in the eye of the people. Do you think he even stands a chance? Does he even look close to the kind of leader we should be looking out for come 2023?
Good. Now, if you want to confine based on the situation and fundamentals of Nigerian challenge, Peter Obi is the perfect match. But the problem is that those that call the shot is not their perfect match. You and I can understand our problem today. You see, if you make me a president today, I will do something that will change one or two things. You'll not be hearing one person packing 80-something billion and another 90-something billion. But no, there will be check and balance. But the problem is that the cabals, the people that call the shot, he's not their preferred candidate. You and I know that Peter Obi has something to offer. What he did in Anambra will live forever. And you see that thing that people don't understand, that at the end of the day, what you do will come back to you. Peter Obi is a living example. People thought he's stupid then because he's not allowing people to chop. In fact, I once entered plane with him. Me and Peter Obi, I think we flew, let me not start calling the names of the airline, but I was, you know how I knew? I saw a mobile policeman standing somewhere around I was just like, what is the mobile policeman doing? And I looked in front of me. Peter Obi is there using public plane, a governor. So I saw that live, and I know the kind of person he is, and I know what he has in mind. But the problem is that the people that call the shot in this country, I wish me and your vote will count. You understand? To some extent, we'll get who will lead us. This country is bigger than what you think, and there's a lot of things that can go right. So for me, it's a perfect match, but the cabals that call the shot are strong. Trust me.
All right. Thank you so much, youngest old man.
You're welcome.
Thank you. But I also think that we need to rewrite that narrative of our votes not counting. Your vote count. That when you think yours does not count, next person thinks the same thing, everybody, that's when we begin to have voters,
and that's where they get the opportunity,
right? And that's
to read.
To come back to it. So your vote actually counts. Come election days, please, let's all go out and do the right thing. Please, let's not continue this idea of my vote does not count. If it does not count, why are they at the polling units giving you money? Just think about it. If it does not count, then they don't need to do that. It's because it counts, that's why they do what they do. So please, let's really go out and choose the kind of leader we want, like the youngest old man has said.
Yeah, so I was saying that, you see, because leadership does not stop is not. It doesn't start and end at presidency.
Absolutely.
Because everybody just looks at the president. They don't check who are the people that's because the state, the representatives are supposed to checkmate the president. They're supposed to make sure that whatever it is that the deliverables that you have mentioned, your key performance indicators, you are meeting your targets, right? As they no, it's true now. If you have set a goal to say this is what we will do, this is what we will do, when you put all those campaign promises, that's what those states and
I'm gonna give you hope, man.
national representatives are supposed to be, to be about. But these people are the ones that are not even, nobody cares about who they are. So tell me how we're going to switch and change that system. You know what? Let me take another call. Thank you for calling. You're live.
Good afternoon, or good evening.
Good evening. Okonkwo.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
You see, you people are talking about leadership in Nigeria, isn't it?
Yes, please.
The kind of quality of the leadership that Nigeria wants, you can rightly find in the person of Olusegun Obasanjo. Of all the political heavyweights that bought tickets to come and vie for presidency of Nigeria, none of them has the weight to lead Nigeria. You need the kind of character of person, the quality of person of Olusegun Obasanjo that will be able to lead Nigeria. Peter Obi cannot lead Nigeria from Surulere to Lagos. Neither can any of the other people. Even the present man who is there, you see him, Osinbajo, has not been able to lead Nigeria even in the absence of Buhari. Because the cabal that is called Nigeria will deal with you when you come, when you make decisions, say what you want to say, give the orders you want to give. Nobody is going to listen to you. You say it in the morning, they cancel it out in the afternoon. We saw it play when Osinbajo was in power and Buhari was away.
So Okonkwo, because
who
now
these cabals?
No, it's not even the who is the cabal. Me, I'm even asking. Now you are saying about Obasanjo. So where is the hope?
Do you know that some people own this Nigeria?
Our father's land.
There's no hope. We haven't found anybody who has the qualities of Obasanjo. Olusegun Obasanjo, they should just call him to come and take the presidency and continue to rule this country. He's the only man who has the guts to rule the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you, Okonkwo.
I have lived in this country for a long time.
Thank you, Okonkwo.
And I have seen it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think I understand.
I understand what he's saying. Because guess what? You need,
and that man has it.
You need to have a very tough.
There's nothing for him. There's nothing you can do to him that has not been done to him. So he had the guts, and I get where he's coming from. But of course, going back to bring him
check.
Is not a
check.
solution,
They said
really.
the history of presidency in Nigeria. He had the best. Okay, all the people that we are praising and saying that they are doing great things, they were all his ministers. What's her name? Okonjo-Iweala. A lot of even what's his name? Sanusi was under his dispensation. There's a lot that people attribute to him, and I understand why, because he understood how to handpick the right people.
That's leadership.
You understand? And that is, thank you.
That is
you see, that's what I'm saying, that
you don't even have to do anything.
That our quote is so apt. As a leader, all you need to do is sit down and raise leaders at different levels, right? You are not raising people that are doing yes ma to you. No, you have to raise leaders so that they will be decision makers. They will be able to say, you know what, I am standing at this department because I am here. Nothing fails under my watch. And when I leave, I am making sure that there's a succession plan.
Okay.
Whether I leave, something will be there.
Let's bring it home. Let's leave our leaders.
Okay, hold on. Let me take Peter from Benin. Peter, are you there? Peter, you're live.
Yeah, good evening.
Hi.
Owag and Elsie, good to hear from you guys again.
Thank you.
Beautiful topic, but let me start by saying that the beautiful one has not yet been born. Sad, it's the sad truth, but it's the hard truth. If I'm to recommend the kind of leader that Nigeria will need to move us forward, I will recommend two leaders. One, late president of Ghana in the mode of Jerry Rawlings. Then the late president of Burkina Faso of Thomas Sankara. For the kind of diverse and how our value system has been eroded in this country, we need a fearless leader that can take that bull by the horn, who live by example. Like the quote of today says that leaders don't create followers, they create more leaders, if I'm very correct, based on the quote that you brought today.
Yeah.
Now, people are bringing a Peter Obi angle. I expected the Peter Obi and the likes of Peter Obi to have started this movement like 9 months ago. They'll go to Labour Party. The consciousness will start, like Elsie said. Some people in this country don't even know the symbols of other parties. 9 months from what he did 4 or 5 days ago or 6 days ago, the movement will have started. People like us that have a broad-based, holistic way of the kind of leader we want to move this country, we'll key into it. In our own little space, we'll be selling Labour Party. We'll be increasing the numbers. Because the time for this third force, that the perceived leadership quality that Peter Obi is bringing on board is too short to dislodge the PDP and the APC. The sad truth is that the next president of this country for the next 8 years or probably 16 years will still come from APC or PDP. So what is the way forward? Let's not be defeated with this third force that is coming, even if they don't win it in this next election. The movement has started because the way forward is forward. Nigeria is so diverse in the context that you just bring anybody that does not have that fearless character to live by example and make hard decisions. Like one of your guests, my mentor, Dele Farotimi, will always say, we need to restructure this country. Because it's not change of personnel. I've been saying it and even put into the idea. If you bring a good man in this wicked system called Nigeria,
he will be corrupt.
Is it that the system consumes him, or if he wants to change the system, they will kill him? That's my own humble take.
Thank you so much.
So
Peter.
we need a fearless leader and a courageous leader to move this country forward.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Peter. What a downer. The beautiful ones have not been born.
Please, I am beautiful. Thank you very much. I have been born.
So I get that fearlessness.
Oh,
and so I don't want us to think that we need someone like a Jerry Rawlings. Why I say so is that if they know, you know the way Pharaoh knew. It was Pharaoh now.
If they know that what?
That sent people to go and kill all the newborns. If they knew that this is coming, you know.
No, of course, the idea of Jerry Rawlings is that you will not know it's coming.
No, I'm saying that the desperation of the crop of people that we have today that want to go into positions of authority and leadership, right? They're too desperate. So if you come in, I want to believe that you must be someone that is not ready to kill them, like a Jerry Rawlings. You understand? No, it's true. See, because the corruption has eaten deeper than we think. It does not stop at these people, down to us, even our children.
That was why I said, you were saying something about leaders. The job of a leader is to raise other leaders and allow them to succeed under them, right? And I said, let's bring it home. And what I meant by that is the workplaces. You see someone who is supposed to be a manager, or even someone who is supposed to be a leader of an organization. Once they see that somebody is getting the job done and is getting it done right, they feel threatened. There's something they call office politics. There's drama here, there's drama there. Even in the family, you marry this one, the brother-in-law is looking okay. So obviously, find a way to say, oh brother, how will you help me? No, it is how to bring him down. So it's not just, somebody said that, I think it was Milola, our lady who did not get the ticket, when she was talking, and she said something about Nigeria deserving the kind of leaders we get. And see, I know that some of us that are part of the right-thinking people will feel like, no, I don't deserve this, blah, blah, blah. But in the grand scheme of things,
we do actually.
We do.
Let me take a caller. I think, is that youngest old man again?
Yes, so I'm here again.
Oh, God. Go ahead.
Please, I want to kind of counter what Mr. Okonkwo said.
Okay.
I 1,000,000 times believe that Obasanjo time has gone. He has done his bit, and there is a million hope for Nigerians. Now, he is practically talking about a ruler. In this case, we are looking for a leader, somebody with a corporate mantra, somebody that can understand how to run things with accountability, somebody that can fix me and you, that you can even follow up with its moves. Let me tell you with the gospel truth, if you know the situation of Anambra security when Peter Obi took over, go and check the archives. You understand that that guy has done something in his own way. So for Obasanjo, I understand he did his bit, he had his victories and he had his flaws. Okay, let's not go into that. But for him to say that there is no hope, that is not possible. Nigeria, we have more than 1 million. In fact, the hopes we have is bigger than the failures that we've gotten. So all we need to do is to trash all these rulers and get a leader that has a corporate mantra, somebody that will run things with us, but not rule things with us.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
And their colleagues are just rulers. We need
leaders. Thank you so much. So we need to take. I think there was another call trying to come in. Maybe we'll just take a final call. But you see, I want to be hopeful. So the point I was trying to make about not killing, right? You must find a way.
We'll not kill them.
No, so
I don't know why you're going back to this matter.
See, because you know why?
Them.
If you say you want to kill, what I'm telling you that the people you will kill will be too many. What I think we should do is find a way that you have to have a mixture of good and bad in your system. But the structure you will build will be something that bad will just have a natural death. It will die. You make corruption so unattractive.
So, you see,
excitement.
There is nobody.
Sorry, my darling. Excitement? Okay. Thank you for calling. Excitement, you're live. Go ahead quickly.
Thank you very much, my dear. I'm calling you from about the excitement.
Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. You see, all this explanation we are talking about, we just needed a very dreaded corner that will just clear this total funnel of nuisance. The APC, PDP, Labour, they are all the same, my sister. We need a deadly corner. And I mean that we just clear these people, bring a fresh people that will save this country. That is my take on it.
Thank you.
These people, okay, we are all complaining now. We say old men, young men. Now, this thing has gone to bring article. Basically, the producer say both people. So what are we looking for? What are we looking for now? The country is thinking every day by the day. It's just prayers we need to my dear. That's how we take on it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, our time is almost gone. So I want to quickly say that there is no leader we are going to have now, right? That's going to automatically, even if it's the Peter Obi, that will automatically change Nigeria in 4 years, right? But why I'm even a bit geared towards him is because everybody can agree with me that we have a wasteful government. If it's just to even cut down that waste and begin to block this corruption hole, because I don't understand why a layman like me will be able to achieve one thing, something I can achieve with, hypothetically speaking, 100 million naira. This government will need 1 billion to achieve it. And it will still not be standard. It will still not be of quality. It will still be mediocrity. So there is a problem. And even if it's just to cut down the cost of governance.
Which is what we know he can do. You know, I think the problem with Peter Obi,
we'll see how it
that
goes.
I feel that the problem they will have with him, they say he's a stingy man. But we need that stinginess.
We need it now.
You understand?
If you want money, go and work for your money.
This was somebody that his official cars, everything. He made it localized. I don't want it to sound
like we're
I'm not campaigning for him, but I'm just trying to say that.
Let me just take this comment.
Let's put our money where our mouth is.
Good evening, my dear beautiful sisters of What Are You Saying With? The question of what kind of leaders do we want? There is not too much talk about it. The kind of leaders that we want are the ones that will give us what we want and lead us the way we want. Any regime or government that does what they like and does not do what we like or want is no government. The government that we want is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That is a good government and true democracy, without a shadow of doubt. This present government is bad luck and a total nightmare. They are only there for themselves and not for us. That is a selfish and greedy government. The earlier we get rid of them, the better. before they destroy us. We need a leader that has the welfare of the people in mind and nothing more. I rest my case for now. My name is Daniel Ilo, who is regular fan.
Wow, the phone lines are still buzzing.
Daniel.
But let me take our comment from Ade from the UK. He says, good evening, ladies. Uwa, you are too emotional in deciding the leaders Nigeria needed. He said, I mentioned it in the past on this show that J.J. Rawlings' principles should be applied and put them on minimum wage. Collect all embezzled money. Oh God. And that's from Ade from the UK. Ade Biko, see, I'm not being emotional. I'm saying that the amount of corruption that has happened.
You cannot be a Nigerian leader. You know, I said yesterday, you have to be good and bad. You have to wear the two
That's
things.
what I'm saying to you.
So
So I can't qualify. So I don't believe that you must really kill people for it. You know, what I believe
you are
we
going to
can
make
do-
me look like the devil.
No!
Yes, you will not kill people, but you have to have guts.
You have to have guts. But you see, that guts is so many things. And it doesn't
But
have
I
to
hope
be
you know that when a person, in fact, this is on a global level now, as a president of a country, there are decisions you take that
close your
whether
eyes.
you like it or not, lives will go. So being on that seat is not even a joke. Let's close the show there.
I think we can close it there on that note. I won't say a word anymore. Thank you, Elsie.
Thank
Thank you to
Wa.
everyone. We see the phone lines are still ringing. Mona no vex. It's just 1 hour. Thank you so much. Now, before we go, ensure you follow us on Instagram at Wayshow Africa, on Twitter at Wayshow Africa 1. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements on social media. You can like, share, invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. The phone line is buzzing. All right, so if you missed today's quote, I love this quote so much, and I wish every leader would understand this principle. It makes your job easy. He said leaders don't create followers, right? They create more leaders. We need more leaders, and this was by Tom Peters. We'll see you guys live tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Concern grows over the buildup of Russian troops along its border with Ukraine. What can the U.S. and its European allies do to prevent or punish a Russian invasion? And a look inside how Ukrainians are preparing to defend themselves. Now, on the Inside Story, the Ukraine-Russia crisis. Hi, I'm Anita Powell, VOA White House correspondent. Behind me is the West Wing of the White House, where President Joe Biden works. The president is briefed daily on a number of issues of national security, lately about Russia's growing military buildup along its border with Ukraine. The U.S. says more than 100,000 Russian troops are amassed at the border, ready to invade at the command of President Vladimir Putin. Among his demands, Ukraine must never be a part of NATO. The US and its allies say the decision is Ukraine's to make. They are supplying weaponry to Ukraine and fortifying defenses throughout the region. We will get the details on troop movements and preparations inside Ukraine later in the show. First, Washington's view of the crisis. Strong words from US President Joe Biden as the drama deepens between Moscow and Washington.
We continue to urge diplomacy as the best way forward. But with Russia's continuing its buildup of its forces around Ukraine, we are ready no matter what happens.
President Vladimir Putin has deployed tens of thousands of troops along the Ukrainian border, not just within Russian territory, but also in Belarus. The White House says more than 105,000 Russian troops surround Ukraine on two sides. Russia objects to Ukraine's desire to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and has demanded that the U.S., the most powerful member of the Collective Security Alliance, bar Ukraine's entry. Washington announced on February 2nd that the U.S. would send about 2,000 U.S.-based troops to Poland and Germany and shift 1,000 soldiers from Germany to Romania.
These movements are unmistakable signals to the world that we stand ready to reassure our NATO allies and deter and defend against any aggression.
But military officials have not given up on a diplomatic solution.
We do not believe conflict is inevitable. The United States, in lockstep with our allies and partners, has offered Russia a path to de-escalate. But we will take all prudent measures to assure our own security and that of our allies.
The top U.S. diplomat at the UN says the stakes have never been higher.
The situation we're facing in Europe is urgent and dangerous, and the stakes for Ukraine and for every UN member state could not be higher. Russia's actions strike at the very heart of the UN Charter. This is as clear and consequential a threat to peace and security as anyone can imagine.
Russia fired back, with its ambassador saying Russia does not intend to invade. This dispute between Russia and the U.S. and its NATO allies is about much more than ideology, says analyst and author Angela Stent. A stable Europe is central to U.S. interests, and sending more than $200 million worth of security assistance to non-NATO Ukraine is part of that.
It's not only ideology, it's security. I mean, it's, a system of alliances and a stable European continent, which are in the U.S.'s interests. We don't live in isolation. We're a very large island with two neighbors, right? We're a continent. But so it's more than that. It's not about ideology. It's about power politics, but it's also about principles. Which do have to do with territorial integrity and sovereignty.
Meanwhile, Russia and top U.S. rival China have become ever closer. Beijing expressed dissatisfaction when Russia invaded Georgia, while China hosted the 2008 Olympics. The Chinese capital will host the Winter Games starting this week. With the U.S. threatening heavy sanctions against Russia, and even against Putin himself, if Russia invades Ukraine, Moscow will need support from the world's second-largest economy. Analysts say this could play out slowly as the Olympics take center stage and Washington continues to remind Moscow of the consequences of an invasion.
If it does move into Ukraine, then the economic measures that the United States and others are going to bring to bear, to a certain extent, will push them even further into a junior relationship with China, which is just going to hurt their economy in the long run. I don't really see a lot of strong outcomes here. So that's one of the reasons why I think that the diplomatic outcome might still be on the table, but Russia's going to try to let the clock run as long as possible to let us feel uncomfortable.
And so, as the games begin in Beijing and the war games continue on both sides of Ukraine's border, can these two old rivals find their way back to peace? As Russian officials continue to deny their intention to invade Ukraine, the military buildup continues. VOA Chief Diplomatic Correspondent Cindy Saine reports Russian officials are willing to de-escalate military activity if the White House will address their main security concerns.
Russian President Vladimir Putin made his first comments in weeks Tuesday about Ukraine, blaming the U.S. and NATO for the mounting tensions.
Their most important goal is to contain Russia. That's the thing. In this sense, Ukraine itself is just a tool to achieve this goal. This can be done in different ways. One of them is to draw us into some armed conflict.
But experts note Putin is the one who deployed more than 100,000 Russian troops to Ukraine's border, Crimea, and Belarus to bolster his demand that NATO pull some of its forces out of Eastern Europe and promise to never admit Ukraine. With this military buildup, Putin has put himself into a box, says former CIA military analyst Jeffrey Edmonds.
He's made very maximalist demands that he knows that we can't really, I would assume that he knows we can't meet. We're not going to withdraw NATO infrastructure back to 1997 levels, which is one of the things that they've asked us to do. And so I think he's in a holding pattern waiting for the right military composition on Ukraine's border in order to actually take military action.
President Joe Biden says he and Putin understand each other, but Biden has also said he believes Putin is planning to invade Ukraine. Some experts say Putin wants to make sure Russia is still viewed as a major player on the world stage. Angela Stent wrote the book Putin's World.
And he believes that the rest of the world should treat Russia as if it were the Soviet Union. He doesn't want to restore the Soviet Union, but he wants to be treated as a great power whose views are respected and where people sort of fear Russia and they accept that Russia has a right to this sphere of influence in its neighborhood.
Some experts say Putin likely sees eastern Ukraine, where a war has been simmering since he annexed Crimea in 2014, as part of Russia.
So I think Putin might acknowledge that Western Ukraine is genuinely Ukrainian and perhaps belongs in the European cultural and political world, but in his eyes, Eastern Ukraine is sort of a version or an extension of Russia.
But what Putin really fears the most is dissent from his own people, says Bill Browder, founder of the Magnitsky Justice Campaign.
The average Russian is worse off, a lot worse off than when he first became president. And that's all, he owns that. That's all on him. And so he's pulling this strategy straight out of the dictator's playbook, that when people are mad at you, make them mad at somebody else, start a war.
During his New Year address to the nation, Putin did not mention that he implemented a major crackdown on his critics. The most influential one, Alexei Navalny, was jailed 1 year ago after he survived a poisoning attack. Cindy Sain, VOA News.
As Russian forces gather along Ukraine's border, the Pentagon has placed 8,500 troops on heightened alert for possible deployment to NATO countries in Eastern Europe. VOA Pentagon correspondent Carla Babb spoke with Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby about the U.S. position and potential military involvement.
The president has been very clear that in the event of another invasion of Ukraine by Russian forces, the U.S. forces will not be engaged on the ground in combat in Ukraine. He's made that very, very clear. But he's also made it very clear that we have an obligation to our NATO allies to make sure that we're backing up our Article 5 commitments to the alliance. And so we are exploring a range of options to help bolster the alliance on the eastern flank and to prove our dedication to that very ironclad security commitment inside NATO.
And so clearly by invading Ukraine, Russia would put the pressure on the U.S. and NATO to bolster their eastern flank with troops and other defenses, yes?
Look, I would argue that already there's a feeling of some pressure inside the alliance to make sure that it is clear to Mr. Putin how seriously all the allies take our mutual defense requirements. So we've got to make sure that that not only do we send a strong signal about NATO solidarity, but that the alliance really is solidly prepared to defend itself if needed.
You mentioned the building up of defenses, and one of those domains that we have in the defense world is cyber. The Deputy National Security Advisor for Cyber is in Europe as we speak. Would a cyber attack on Ukraine constitute a Russian incursion?
Well, I think I'd say what the president said was any incursion in Ukraine would trigger economic consequences, and I think I'd rather not characterize it beyond that. That said, you're right that we have seen this out of the Russian playbook before, the use of cyber operations to sow discord or to try to incite violence, to disrupt infrastructure. And we would not be surprised to see that again used by Russia in the run-up to perhaps something more conventional from a military perspective. We have, as you know, we have a small number of trainers in Ukraine, and since 2014, the United States has helped contribute to better cyber resilience inside Ukraine. Not to say it's perfect, but I think the Ukrainians understand too that is a tool that the Russians could use, and that we all need to be mindful of that and to be watching out for it.
You have said here in this room that Russia has more than 100,000 troops at the border with Ukraine. Russia is denying that currently, so why not declassify some intelligence to show who's telling the truth? Well,
look, I mean, we're confident in our assessments, and we are careful in the degree to which we talk about those assessments. I think that's the prudent thing to do here when you're dealing with an actor like Russia. They also have denied that they have any intention to invade Ukraine again, to violate Ukrainian sovereignty. So, a way to prove that would be to take those more than 100,000 troops and send them back home, rather than keep them arrayed as they are around the eastern and northeastern border of Ukraine, down south around Crimea, and then in occupied Crimea, and then in Belarus too.
And then the final question, you've been talking about the escalation that Russia has been doing. Have they shown any signs of de-escalating at this point?
No, they have not. As I said, even just as recently as today, we continue to see the flow of additional combined arms capabilities from elsewhere in Russia to the border with Ukraine and into Belarus. So no, there's been no sign from a military perspective of de-escalation. Now, on the diplomatic side, there was an exchange between Minister Lavrov and Secretary Blinken, and I think you heard Secretary Blinken say that he still believes that there's time and space for dialogue, and we, of all people, we absolutely fully support that and want to see that happen. That's the best way forward here to de-escalate this, this potential crisis here. But from a military perspective, no, we continue to see added capability, and that's deeply concerning.
Ukraine's leaders are trying to calm anxieties of a country trying to conduct business as usual. But it's hard to dismiss the threat across the border. Our Ricardo Marquina has been reporting from inside Ukraine for more than a week, watching Ukrainians trade war preparation tips on social media while trying to live life as normal. Here's his report from Ukraine's capital, Kyiv.
On the outskirts of Kiev, a group of about 200 men and women receive military training. They are civilians who have joined the Territorial Defense Force, a reserve corps set up by authorities to support the Ukrainian armed forces in the event of a conflict. They train on their own time and they buy their own weapons.
I am here to learn fighting techniques and support the army to defend Ukraine.
Russian military pressure on Ukraine, with a massive deployment not far from its eastern border, has once again raised the spectre of war. For many here, the question is not whether there will be a war, but when.
Putin believes that there is no country called Ukraine and that he has to take it under his control. Since he could not do it by changing his government from within, he only has one option left, the military path.
After more weeks of intense media reporting on a possible conflict, those in charge of these exercises want to reduce tensions among the Ukrainian population and are urging calm, including among these trainees.
Our commanders tell us, clean the gun, get ready, and don't panic. That is the Ukrainian way.
The following workday, these men and women will return to their jobs in the city, while in Moscow and Washington, the political tug-of-war that could push them to war will continue. For Ricardo Marquina in Kiev, John Spear, VOA News.
Miroslava Gongadze has covered Ukraine for VOA since 2004 as anchor of our daily TV news show Chaz Time and chief of our Ukrainian service. She has recently been promoted to VOA's Eastern Europe chief, based in Kyiv. I spoke to Miroslava about how the crisis is being handled in Ukraine.
It feels like living near the volcano that can erupt any time. So they kind of get used to this permanent, constant threats, and they cope with it. However, this recent months, the threat is more imminent. So people are starting preparing more. They are signing up for defense. Local defense groups. They are buying arms. They are buying weapons. They are legally, obviously. It's possible to buy weapons in Ukraine. They are creating safe houses. They are planning their escape routes. They are planning to take their families out.
Do you think that these are evenly matched forces?
Unfortunately, it's definitely not evenly matched forces. I have to say that Ukrainians' armed forces are heavily outnumbered and outgunned by Russia's army. But military experts say that they would be capable of mounting significant resistance and inflicting heavy casualties if Russia were to launch a large-scale invasion.
Let's talk about the different messages coming out of Washington and Kyiv, with the White House saying that invasion is imminent, and President Zelensky saying this is overblown. There's no need to overreact. Can you explain to us why we're hearing those two messages and what the consequences of that mixed messaging could be?
My take would be that it's just probably unimaginable for Ukrainians and for Ukrainian government that something like that can happen, meaning that full-scale invasion can happen. Everybody understands that this, if this invasion will happen, that will change Ukraine, it will change the Europe, and will change the
world, is what President Joe Biden said. He said this would be the biggest deal since World War II. Do you agree with that statement?
I totally agree with that. I think the Joseph Biden and our U.S. NATO allies understand, specifically Europeans who are close to member of European Union and those who are close to Russia, like Poland, Romania, those countries in the North Baltic states. They are aware of Russian threats, and they feel and understand it the most. And they do ask United States and NATO to help and to support more.
And then finally, I just want to talk about some of the other players on this very complex chessboard. We see this as a big contest between NATO and Russia, with Ukraine caught in the middle. But let's talk about the other characters. We also have China, and we also have Turkey. Those are two that come to mind.
Turkey is trying to play both cards. They need to maintain their good economic, specifically political relationship with Russia. But at the same time, they do want to have Ukraine, to support Ukraine as well. In terms of China is for years trying to put their foot into Ukrainian economy, and there are some forces in Ukrainian government, in the Ukrainian parliament, who are supporting China's involvement and bigger engagement with China.
Any clash between Russia and Ukraine will threaten Europe's energy security. The European Union gets about a third of its natural gas from Russia. Economic sanctions are expected to target Russia's energy sector, and China is watching the situation with great interest. Our Henry Ridgewell has the inside story from London.
Western nations have threatened unprecedented economic sanctions against Moscow if it invades Ukraine. If cut off by the West, could Russia look east to China for help?
The policy I think China is likely to take is to do whatever they can to help the Russians to face up to the economic sanctions that the US and Europeans may impose on Russia. Economic links between China and Russia are not really strong enough to replace any break off of economic links between Russia and Europe.
China has offered political support for Moscow in its standoff over Ukraine.
This foreign policy coordination will definitely increase. Because from the Russian perspective, intensification of the military partnership between Russia and China is precisely one of the major pains which Russia can inflict to the United States and NATO.
Meanwhile, China is closely watching NATO and America's response to any Russian invasion.
Even though there's these troop deployments to Eastern European states, no states are talking about directly sending troops into Ukraine itself to defend. And of course, China's taking note of that with some of their own territorial disputes in their own area.
Taiwan is China's biggest territorial dispute, and there is a risk of miscalculation as Beijing watches events unfold in Ukraine, says Steve Tsang.
The Chinese seeing the Americans and the Europeans talking big, but not doing very much about it, which would embolden them over Taiwan and potentially miscalculate what the American responses to a crisis over Taiwan might be.
Despite their mutual rivalry with the US, China and Russia's interests don't always align. Beijing's multi-trillion-dollar Belt and Road Initiative cuts through several former Soviet bloc states, including Ukraine. A direct rail and ferry freight link opened in 2016, linking China with Ukraine's Black Sea coast via Georgia, Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan, bypassing Russia. China has also funded infrastructure projects, including a new metro line for Kiev. If Russia invades Ukraine, could Beijing's investments in the region be at risk?
The more immediate impact on the Belt and Road Initiative would in fact be the Russian military intervention in Kazakhstan. And the Chinese government actually have shown that they are quite relaxed and comfortable with that. To them, it's more important to support authoritarian states and autocrats to stay in power, and then for some of them to be closer to Russia than to China at the moment. Over the longer term, things may change.
In the short term, analysts say China is keen to keep a lid on the simmering tensions for at least the next few weeks as it prepares to host the Winter Olympics. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, London.
Thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter at 6ArmsPowell. Connect with VOA News on Instagram and Facebook, and stay with voanews.com for all the latest news and information. See you next week for the Inside Story.
Hi there, my name is Yemi Ogusheye, aka Gucci. Here is my good old days story. I grew up in a disciplined, tight and close-knit polygamous home. I oscillated between Otan-Igbaju, Bongo and Ife to my earliest recollections. I vividly remembered my first visit to Ibadan for a vacation either in 69 or 70, about the Civil War time. I remember seeing lorries carrying soldiers to the war front, passing our frontage in Bongo. So here I was in Ibadan, face to face with a television set. It was magical, curious and disturbing. I wonder where sat the fellow talking to us on the screen. Severally, I would discreetly go behind the set to see if I could locate the person. At times, we could have as many as 10 people on the screen. So where in Jesus' name were they? Eventually, sometimes later, Dad bought one from Zabadin in Ibadan, a big black and white fellow that was followed almost in a jiffy by a colored one that swept everyone off their feet. I can still recall the schedules of favorite programs in those days. Monday evening for Combat, Tuesdays for Ko to Ashikpa, Wednesdays for Baba Salah, Thursdays for Adima Jason, Fridays wrestling from Great Britain, Saturdays for Village Headmasters, and Sunday for Obadari. Not forgetting Baba Miro's Awada Keri Keri, Chief Zebudraya's Masquerade, Bongo Ikwe's Kokru Adon, Samanja, Suradi Taylor, Coco Close, Magana Jariche, Mind Your Language, Hammer House of Oro, Soul Train, CI5, The Professional, Sesame Street, Voltron, and many others. Those were the days of quality programming, sound presentation, and socially relevant jingles like Agbada Odalorun Keke, Good Name is Better Than Gold and Silver, and a host of others. Life back then was innocent, communal, serene, and low-pressured. Education was paramount, almost like home training. We know almost all that stayed in the neighborhood. Trekking to and fro from my school, St. Saviour's African Church Primary School, Salvation Army Road, Ibadan, was one of the biggest fun in my life, with my mates jabbering away on everything our little minds could comprehend then. I remember with nostalgia with the interest everyone had in us when we were preparing for our common entrance examinations. School wo lo mú? Deola College sir. Ó jẹ́ kàwé dáadáa. Ṣé o mọ̀ wípé wọ́n mọ̀wé gan ní school ẹ̀? That was common refrain then. I got into Lola College eventually, the great Lola College, the best in every way. Although someone once remarked that it's only God knows how these trying times become the good old days. Because then, our parents regaled us with stories of the good old days too. And some of those stories we found unbelievable. Now, I will understand if our children today also find some of our good old days stories incredibly unbelievable. For me, the good old days were exciting and adventurous, not the TV kind or the movies kind or the PlayStation kind, but the kind that was real, practical, and blissful. Now, must we continue with this sad trend of always referring to our past as a nation as good when we can positively project into a greater future for us and the upcoming generation? Can we stem the tide and change the narrative? Yes, we can. We can begin to borrow lessons from the past and take conscious steps that will not only guarantee us a brighter future, but will ensure we become a greater nation as well. Our children deserve a brighter and better tomorrow, not the good old days. Let us make the difference now for the sake of our children tomorrow. I therefore join Sir Shemori Badejo in this collective drive towards a greater tomorrow. Thank you.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from Plus TV Africa.
On Plus TV News now, Fresh Suit seeks Atiku's disqualification from 2023 presidential race. Libya Group urges ICC to probe alleged use of mines in war. European Commission President says embargo on Russian oil will cut 90% of imports. Good evening, I am Adebanke Udunoi and this is the news now. President Muhammadu Buhari will on Tuesday, today, depart Abuja for Madrid, Spain on a state visit at the invitation of the Spanish President Pedro Sanchez. The president's spokesman, Femi Adesina, who confirmed this in a statement in Abuja, said the president will also meet with the head of state of the Spanish nation, His Majesty King Felipe VI. The Nigerian leader will be speaking to the gathering of top members of the Spanish business community and their Nigerian counterparts on the investment opportunities in Nigeria and ways of expanding the volume of trade as well as further collaborating for the development of the economies of both countries. The president is expected back in the country on Friday. President Muhammadu Buhari has disclosed his criteria for the ideal presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress in the 2023 elections. The president, who made the disclosure while meeting with APC governors in Abuja, said that the party's choice of candidates must be someone who gives the Nigerian masses a sense of victory and confidence even before the election. He assured that the consultation process will continue to ensure that all aspirants and stakeholders will be brought on board right through to the convention, stressing that it would be to ensure that any anxiety occasioned by different factors are effectively brought under control and that the party emerges stronger. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has been successfully screened by the All Progressives Congress APC Presidential Screening Panel. Osinbajo, while speaking with newsmen shortly after the screening held in Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja, said that the exercise was fruitful and expressed optimism on the party's chances ahead of the 2023 presidential election. 4 aspirants in the just concluded APC governorship primaries in Benue State have called on the governorship appeal panel sitting in Makurdi to cancel the exercise and order for a fresh election to save the party from losing an election in Benue State. Senator Barnabas Gemade, Mike Aundoaka, and others alleged that no election was conducted as no party membership registered. And a faction within the All Progressives Congress in Osun State, known as the Osun Progressive TOP, has called for the cancellation of the State House of Assembly and National Assembly primary elections held in the state. One of the aspirants, Honorable Wasiu Adebayo, who stated this in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, during a press conference, said that the cancellation became imperative due to the delay in the announcement of the results 4 days after the conduct of the elections. In his reaction, the special advisor to the governor of the Osun State on political matters, Sunday Akere, debunked the allegations.
It is unheard of, even a shameful experience, that 4 and 3 days after the primary have been held, the governor and his collaborator in the party are able to declare winners in those contexts. Finally, the information at our disposal is that all result sheets are currently in the custody of Governor Gboyega Oyetola, and the result sheets are being filled with the names of governor cronies who never won or participated in the primary election. We call on His Excellency, the National Chairman of our party, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, to use his good offices to correct the current act of impunity and rape of democracy being displayed by Governor Gboyega Oyetola before it's too late.
Tomorrow morning, all the delegates will gather to ratify. We cannot announce the results of the direct primary thing unless it is ratified. And the process is the five delegates elected last week from each of the wards was to the ratification which they are going to do tomorrow. Before noon tomorrow, by the grace of God, all the 26 results for the House of Assembly, the next result for the House of Reps, and the 3 senatorial districts will be made public. People that are making these spurious allegations know that they don't have backers, they don't have supporters, they only rely on propaganda, and that is what has been their stock in trade.
Other statesman and leader of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, Chief Edwin Clark, has asked the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Dr. Iyorchia Ayu, to resign. Clark, a former First Republic Federal Commissioner of Information, said this in a statement titled, "Resign now, you are no longer fit to remain PDP national chairman," Clark tells Iyorchia Ayu. He said even much worse in the extreme was the action of Senator Ayu in his open visit to Governor Tambuwal to congratulate and hail him, in his words, as the hero of the convention. Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has revealed that some People's Democratic Party PDP governors ganged up with some interest groups to derail the quest of southern Nigeria to produce the next president of Nigeria. The Rivers State Governor, who made the explanation at a grand reception organized by Rivers people in Port Harcourt to welcome him from Abuja after the PDP presidential primary, said it was the agreement of the governors of southern Nigeria that the presidency should come to the south, and he did not betray the agreement.
You are holding something in trust for your people, and you claim that this is what your people want. Then when it has come to that point to actualize it, you sell out. You think you are doing me? No. No way. Anybody who wants to, anybody in the political history of this country, you can count on us. We are not a pushover. We are not. But I don't know how they are.
He said it was wrong for the party to have allowed the governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, to speak for a second time after the time allotted to each of the aspirants to address the delegates.
I've never seen how people can violate procedures, guidelines. Somebody has spoken. It is at that point he was speaking that he can say, "I'm withdrawing." You don't call him back. I just said, look, this our party must not be destroyed. I would have left where I was sitting down. I said, no, this convention can go on, except you allow me to talk. And I would have flattened that, because it says the human being. I would have flattened it.
Adamawa State's All Progressives Congress, Aishatu Dahiru Ahmed Binani, has disclosed that the ruling People's Democratic Party, PDP, has no stake in 2023. Binani, in her first interaction with newsmen after winning her party primaries in Yola, stated that her party will deploy winning strategies to ensure defeating the ruling party comprehensively in 2023.
The few first months, I will focus on the challenges on the most challenges area, like the human capacity development and the productive sector of agriculture, at least bearing in mind that Adamawa State is an agricultural based economy state. We have the mining and industrialization. All these are productive sector, which if it is being harnessed together, it will certainly boost the GDP of the state.
The gubernatorial hopeful says she will pay human capacity development, youth and women empowerment, educational development, social security, child protection and development and mineral development a priority if she emerged governor of Adamawa State.
Education, that is one area that I would want to also give it a priority, because when you educate a woman, you educate the whole nation. And we all know the deplorable, how our standard of education has gone below expectation. So, and basic education being one of the core mandate of the state, will give it preferential consideration.
The former PDP chieftain and now member of the Social Democratic Party SDP, Dr. Umar Ado, has been declared winner of the just concluded primary elections of his party. Chairman of the Electoral Committee, Mustafa Jibrila, made a declaration in a Congress of about 678 delegates from across the 21 local governments in Yola, the Adamawa state capital. According to him, the victory was owing to the fact that no other candidates contested alongside the winner, thereby making him an unopposed candidate, with a total votes cast of 678, which is the total number of the delegates. Social Democratic Party is the third party to conduct governorship primaries in Adamawa State after the PDP and the APC.
Like most of Nigeria, Adamawa State is facing visible developmental challenges expressed by severe economic insecurity and extreme poverty, illiteracy and ignorance, hunger and deprivation, diseases and epidemics, communal distrust and violence, banditry and kidnappings, insurgency and institutional collapse, and all sorts of social crises in the country. This terrible state of affairs is basically as a result of governmental failure. All through the years, on account of corrupt, inept and poor leadership, successive governments in Adamawa State have failed to optimize our potential to develop our society, in spite of enormous human and material resources.
Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress APC flag bearer in Adamawa State, Aishatu Binani, in a separate interview says her government will focus on the most challenging areas, which are human capacity development as well as agriculture. Nigerian politician has been advised to always listen to the voice of the people that voted them into power. The General Secretary of St. Gabriel Catholic Church of Nigeria, Reverend Zakaria Sanijumi, gave the advice during the celebration of the church's World Communication Day, which is aimed at promoting media literacy for discipleship.
Dualogue meaning that the two voices are speaking. They are not listening to one another. You are waiting for the other person to finish. Meanwhile, you are framing your own point. You want to bring up your own point. So for that reason, dualogue is not helping us. And that is what is making society, other people to be adamant to see that they emphasize their own points, and whether it means by killing and the rest of them. But we urge journalists that we must not relent. We must constantly also communicate so that others will listen. By listening, we will come to understand one another.
The signs we've seen with the primaries simply still point to the fact that we are not listening. Our politicians are not listening to the people. Our politicians keep drumming to themselves and dancing to their drums, not to the people. The signs of the primary so far is very disheartening and worrisome. We just hope and pray that even if politicians refuse to listen to themselves, the people themselves should try to listen to their own song and do the right thing.
A fresh suit seeking the disqualification of the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar from the 2023 general election has emerged, even as he polled 371 votes to emerge as the candidate of the People's Democratic Party at the party's convention held on Saturday. The fresh suit was filed at the Federal High Court in Abuja by a constitutional lawyer, John Mary Chideobi, who argued that Atiku is not constitutionally qualified to participate in the presidential contest. He sought 7 principal reliefs against Atiku, PDP, and the Independent National Electoral Commission, who were cited as first, second, and third defendants in the matter, and the Attorney General of the Federation was also joined as the 4th defendant. The Federal High Court in Abuja has granted bail to Mr. Rochas Okorocha. He was granted bail today by Justice Inyang Eko in the sum of 500 million naira and a surety in the like sum. Justice Eko gave the order while ruling on the bail application filed by Okorocha, who currently represents Imo West Senatorial District in the National Assembly. He ordered that the surety must be a responsible citizen who has landed property in the like sum of the bill granted to the presidential aspirant. Benue State Governor Samuel Ortom has appealed to the international community to put pressure on the federal government to address the unabating acts of terrorism by armed headsmen in the country without religious or ethnic bias. Governor Ortom, who made the appeal during his interaction in Abuja with a delegation from the United Kingdom Parliament all-party parliamentary group on the freedom of religion and beliefs, said that it appears that the current administration in Nigeria is unwilling to wield the big stick against murderous terrorist groups. Responding, leader of the delegation and member of parliament from Ireland, Jim Shannon, thanked Governor Ortom for availing the delegation with a comprehensive insight into the issues, assured that they would present his case at the Rights Department back home to get positive results. As part of efforts of the Nigerian Navy in fighting maritime illegalities, it has flagged off a multinational maritime exercise codenamed Exercise Eddie Diana, aimed at tackling maritime security threats within the Gulf of Guinea. The exercise is in collaboration with West and Central African countries, including Togo, Cameroon, Ghana, the European Diana. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Leo Irabo, at the Federal Ocean Terminal, One River State, urged the Nigerian Navy to strengthen its collaboration with other countries' navies to fight maritime insecurity in the Gulf of Guinea and Africa in general. Irabo said it is by collaboration that a country will be able to access the benefits inherent in the ocean, not only for Nigeria, but equally for the Committee of Nations.
The whole essence is to rid our maritime domain, especially the Gulf of Guinea, of every maritime security threat. So this exercise is intended to galvanize the capacities and the resources of the various navies that I've just mentioned, so that together we can achieve the objective of security within our commons. So this is why we're here, and the exercise is going to be for the next couple of days.
The Chief of Defense Staff also hinted of the federal government's commitment to increasing Navy platforms to effectively secure the nation's territorial waters. The president of the Naval Officers' Wives Association and wife of the Chief of Naval Staff, Aisha Gambo, has stressed the need for women and youth to take care of their health. Hajia Gambo spoke at a health seminar, which is part of activities to commemorate the 66th anniversary of the Nigerian Navy tag depression put together by the Association for Naval Officers' Wives and Children in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. She said the issue of mental health among mothers should be taken seriously to enable them effectively manage the home front.
NOVA is highly committed to improving the quality of lives and women and children, not only in the barracks, but around Nigeria. This is evident in the record of NOVA activities. We need to help our children achieve their full potential regardless of ethnicity and religious background. As part of NOVA activities scheduled during the 66th Nigerian Navy Week celebration, this seminar with them dealing with depression has been organized to help bring further awareness to silent nemesis of mental health issues, especially depression.
Some health experts also spoke at the event on the need to make healthcare a collective responsibility.
Complications of depression in teenagers, alcohol and drug abuse is becoming common. Academic problems, the child that is suddenly doing well is going down. These are the complications. Family conflicts, relationship difficulties, suicide attempts, or suicide itself. Even the strike itself has taken a toll on a lot of children. When they see their mates in the private universities going ahead of them, meanwhile they wanted to the university before them, that's a point. But when we see it as a collective responsibility, we'll build a generation that will take over from us, who are sane in their emotions, in their behavior, and in totality.
Women in particular need to keep an eye on their physical and mental health. Because if we are scoring to and fro appointments and errands, we don't have a lot of time to take care of ourselves. We need to do a better job of putting ourselves higher on our own to-do list. You need to put yourself higher on your to-do list and get the needed help.
The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, today presented some relief materials to the people of Okun Alpha Beach, Etiosa local government, Lekki, who have been experiencing ocean surges for years. Plus TV News correspondent Paul George, who covered the event, reports that the honorable member representing the constituency, Ibrahim Obanikoro, facilitated the presentation.
Honorable Obanikoro, who was represented at the event by his legislative aide, Sheun Shonaike, promised his continuous support for the community.
Today we are here to present items from NEMA, facilitated by Honorable Obanikoro, to the communities affected by this ocean surge. The items, as you can see, range from palm oil, vegetable oil, rice, nail, beans, gari, cement, roofing sheets, and then roofing boards. Some time ago, when they had this issue, they reached out to the constituency office, and then the Honorable took it upon himself to drag the federal government to come and assess the extent of damage in the community.
The Baale of Akinlade town, Shakiru Akinlade, who was on ground to receive the materials on behalf of his people, also appealed to the state government to please help find a permanent solution to the problem.
We are appreciative of the relief materials given to us, but the government should not forget to help us reclaim the parts already submerged by the water, just like they did to the Ba Beach.
Some of the residents lamented that the water has taken over most of their land and called on the government to help fill the shores of the water so as to prevent it from completely submerging the whole of the houses of Etiosa Okun community.
Before, we have a standard tourist here, whereby we have a tide road, chalets, coconut trees, and buildings. But now it's no more. For example, now, like this place we are looking at is our former health center to the community. But for now, that's cut it away, that's submerged. The area you're looking at that side, that's my family house. My building is there, my father's home, and my mother's home. All is submerged.
the development that is needed beyond the palliatives that have been done today. Yes, we appreciate NEMA for the provision of our palliative, but beyond the palliative, we need government to reclaim the land, just as we have in the Bad Beach Atlantic estate there. So we need a similar redirection as far as the area is concerned.
Whenever there is a storm surge, it ravages the whole community. It causes a standstill as no one will be able to move around. It floods everybody's houses to the point that some of us will put our luggages on top of our carports. We are begging the government to help us fix our community.
This village, the third village, two has gone inside the water. What they want us, the government to do for us is that block where they take, make that stone, make them take them. The other, as they do it like this, when they cross them again.
Some of the relief materials presented were food items such as rice and beans, as well as bedding materials. Paul George, Plus TV News.
Many Nigerians leave the shores of the country in search of greener pastures, but for most of them, the situation turns out to be a nightmare. To this end, the International Organization for Migration, IOM, held a film screening in Lagos to sensitize Nigerians of the implications of migration. Plus TV News correspondent Uyime Afia was at the screening of the movie titled Lost in Transit. Her report.
Collaboration, a partnership between
The screening, which showcased the hidden intricacies of migration, be it regular or irregular, is part of global activities that brings the world together to share migration stories, enabling migrant journeys to be told through the eyes of the migrants themselves. The movie Lost in Transit tells the story of a young girl who attempted to migrate through the irregular route and got stuck in transit.
Zainab tells me you're saving money to go to school.
Yes, ma.
That means she must have told you she's going abroad to study.
Yes, ma.
I like you. You're smart. Look at me. Hardworking. Focused.
Panelists who spoke after the movie pointed out that it was important to address the push factors of migration in Nigeria and the rest of Africa. To them, issues including lack of jobs, insecurity, poverty, among others, are some of the reasons many Nigerians seek alternatives, including irregular migration.
And this word vulnerability is very important because that is what these traffickers prey on. They prey on your vulnerability. Their tactics is equally very fluid. It changes.
This year, IOM has returned over 3 charter flights down to Lagos International Airport. And as we speak today, my colleagues are taking back some people in Abuja. Next week, some people are arriving in Kano. Right? This is like, it's ongoing. You never stop. If they are she said it's fluid. It's very fluid. So as we are blocking these channels with our partners, they're coming up with new channels.
Some of the actors spoke about their roles and how best to fight the surge.
It was hugely a very emotional journey because we need to do a research and interact with some of the victims of irregular migration. We hear their story, go to places, travel, and begin to piece the bits and pieces together as a script. Yeah, and some of them even acted in the movie. So it was quite an emotional time. So far so good. We're trying to tell the story, to help other people not to make the same mistakes.
We are a country and we're a work in progress. All these bodies that are here today for the screening, they are working towards that. You see people, they say they station 2 people at the local government. They have people in the bus movement, the blue bus movement. They're doing films, they're doing cinema bus. They're doing so many things. So these are things they are doing as a collective, as Nigerians. So the work is not even done.
Empower the youths, create employment opportunities, create atmosphere for people to thrive. And then the number of people who want to leave the country will be very, very reduced. And they will not live illegally. They will seek the proper way of living. If you seek the proper way of living, they will be able to trace you. But if you go illegally, you're on your own. You die for nothing.
This is what they can do, what we have done today. Part of the things that they can do is this massive collaboration. We have, a private production company as a consultant working with different government and intergovernmental organizations like NOA, NAPTIP, IOM, and all the likes that we saw today. So it's this type of huge partnership that can make creating such awareness and advocacy and coming up with beautiful, mind-blowing solutions that can nip such a menace in the bud.
The OIM, however, pointed out that even though the regular migration was preferable, every information, including the kinds of jobs to do, must be thoroughly sorted before any Nigerian leave the shores of the country. Uyime Afia, Plus TV News.
As the 2023 elections draw near, Nigerians have been speaking on the role of the justice system before, during and after the polls. That's on Street Views. Take a listen.
The electoral act once passed becomes the law. And the duty of the court is to interpret the law the way it is, irrespective of who the interpretation will go against or not. Now, coming to 2023 election, before any election, the judiciary has a duty to put in election petition in place based on the electoral act. And when that is in place, the judiciary will be ready to take any case because the election petition will have been in place because it's a special courts.
The judiciary really doesn't have any preparation to make with respect to election. The judiciary is supposed to be a continuous process, and the only role of the judiciary is to interpret laws. So whatever laws become current or becomes extant, that is what the judiciary will do. The judiciary doesn't have to have a new preparation. They're supposed to be constant at every time. So the judiciary is good to go with respect to the 2023 elections.
The judiciary this time around should look beyond the technical justice and do substantial justice. Because it's on record that there was a time when a matter was called at the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court, in its wisdom, left number 1 and went for number 4. It would be against common sense to leave the person that scored second highest vote, the third highest vote, to go and pick the 4th highest vote. So it's what we call technical justice. So we're hoping and trusting that the judiciary this time around would look at substantial justice to ensure that politicians don't use the courtroom and the instruments of the law to achieve a selfish gain.
The only thing the judiciary ought to do at this stage is to be very, very careful, because the politicians are at their game now. This is the time for frivolous application. This is the time for expert application. They'll come through the back to get any relief to stop the election or to stop the process. So the judiciary should be watchful to shun all expert applications. What the judiciary can do, they can what they call accelerated hearing. They can accelerate hearing, but let the other party be aware.
Still ahead, Tunisia Trade Union announces public sector strike from June 16th. Details when we return.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games. Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winner's golden bet, the wise choice.
Welcome back. And on to other parts of Africa, Human Rights Watch has called on the International Criminal Court to investigate allegations of landmines used in 2019 by Russian paramilitaries fighting in Libya. According to the New York-based watchdog, new evidence has emerged from Libyan demining groups linking mercenaries from Russia's Wagner group to the use of banned mines in Libya during an offensive by Libyan forces based in the east of the country, attempting to retake the capital Tripoli from rival militias. The Wagner group supported the offensive by the eastern-based forces led by Commander Khalifa Haftar, who was also backed at the time by the United Arab Emirates, Egypt and Russia. In Malawi, state prosecutors have asked the High Court in the capital, Blantyre, to give life sentences to 12 people, including a Catholic priest in connection with the murder of MacDonald Masambuka, a man with albinism killed in 2018. Senior state lawyer Pilirani Masanjala said he hopes that the court would see merit in their submissions, even as the defense wants jail terms not exceeding 10 years. 5 out of the 12 defendants were found guilty of killing 22-year-old MacDonald Masambuka during a crime spree that resulted in more than 40 murders and 145 assaults on people with the condition. English-speaking armed separatists, the army, have said that soldiers have freed several hostages in western Cameroon, including a presidential party senator killed a month ago and killed a dozen of their suspected kidnappers. Elizabeth Regina Mundi, 79, and her driver were kidnapped on April 30th by rebels demanding independence for the northwest and southwest regions, which are mainly populated by the English-speaking minority in a predominantly French-speaking country. The army said in a statement that several hostages were freed, including the senator, in an operation against a terrorist hideout on Monday evening in Ashong in the northwest. The powerful Tunisian Trade Union Center, UGTT, has announced a nationwide public sector strike on June 16th to protest against soaring inflation and prevent the privatization of major state-owned companies. The announcement comes at a time when the country is wallowing in a deep economic crisis and the government is counting on the support of the General Union of Tunisian Workers, UGTT, for the reform program it has submitted to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, in the hope of obtaining new credit. In a statement, the union accused President Kais Saied of undermining the principles of negotiation and reneging on previous agreements while the country is facing crazy and continuous price rises, with inflation at 7.5% in April. And outside Africa, Slovak President Zuzana Kaputova has promised that the country will supply Ukraine with a long-range artillery system in the next few days. President Kaputova, during a news conference held jointly with President Volodymyr Zelensky, said the Slovak-made 155mm self-propelled howitzer, nicknamed Susanna, has a long-range, high accuracy and rate of fire. During her visit to Ukraine, Kaputova addressed the Ukrainian parliament, held talks with Zelensky, and visited Borodyanka and Irpin, towns near Kyiv where Ukraine has accused Russia of committing war crimes. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has said that 90% of the bloc's oil imports from Russia would be halted after member states agreed on a partial ban. Speaking at a news conference in Brussels alongside European Council President Charles Michel, von der Leyen said Russia had now disrupted oil supplies to 5 EU members: Finland, Bulgaria, Poland, Denmark, and the Netherlands.
We started with coal. Yesterday, in the middle of the night, we decided then to have a ban now on de facto 90% of Russian oil imports to the European Union by the end of the year. And this comes at a time when we see that Russia has disrupted supplies to, by now, 5 member states. Finland, Bulgaria, and Poland, but now to a company in the Netherlands and to a company in Denmark. The fact that there is a severe food crisis developing is only the fault of Russia's unjustified war. Without this war, we would not have it.
No, you are absolutely right. It should be the
French President Emmanuel Macron has stated that following a 6 European Union package of sanctions against Russia, nothing could be rolled out in terms of additional sanctions in the coming weeks. Speaking to reporters following an EU summit in Brussels, he also said he hoped that in the next days and weeks an agreement with Russia could be found for Ukrainian food exports, saying that recent talks between the Russian and Turkish presidents on the matter were a positive sign. The French president also expressed his condolences following the death of French journalist Frédéric Leclerc-Imhoff, who was killed near a town on Monday when shelling hit the vehicle he was traveling in during an evacuation of civilians. Kyiv's top prosecutor has revealed that Ukraine has identified more than 600 Russian war crime suspects and has started prosecuting around 80 of them. Prosecutor General Irina Venediktova told a news conference in The Hague that the list of suspects includes top military, politicians and propaganda agents of Russia. Venediktova said Estonia, Latvia and Slovakia had decided to join an international investigation team in Ukraine, which was originally formed by Ukraine, Lithuania and Poland in March to enable the exchange of information and investigation into suspected war crimes and crimes against humanity. Up next, airfares surged by 52% over Forex jet A1 crisis. And that's in business news after this short break.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Vicky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Welcome to Business News. Crude oil price rose to over $121 per barrel yesterday evening as the increasing price of diesel persists in Nigeria, with the average cost of the product selling for 780 naira per litre in some filling stations and as high as 790 naira per litre in others. The high cost of the product is further exacerbated by the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, which has led to serious supply chain challenges. In Nigeria, the surge in crude oil prices, as well as the persistent depreciation of the naira, has continued to lead to a dramatic increase in the pump price of diesel at the filling stations across the country. The surge in the price of the product represents about 174% increase in 4 months when compared to the 288 naira per litre that it sold for in January 2022. The average airfare paid by passengers on specified routes for a single journey has increased by 52% in the past 12 months, the National Bureau of Statistics data have shown. The NBS said airfares recorded a 19% increase when gauged on a month-on-month basis. On state profile analysis, Taraba recorded the highest air transport charges in April 2022, with 65,000 naira. It's followed by Kogi with 64,258 naira. Kano recorded the least, that's 50,000 naira. Analysis by Zone also showed that the North Central recorded the highest airfare in April 2022. That's 57,552 naira. It's followed by Northeast with 56,800 naira, while the Southeast had the least with 53,402 naira. The significant hike in airfares, according to findings, is not unconnected with the recent challenges faced by local airlines, ranging from energy price hikes to lack of access to foreign exchange. In the meantime, market operators have lamented the recent decision of the Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, to raise the interest rate to 13%, saying it will impact the stock market. The operators argued that the hike in the interest rate would depress investors' appetite for equities shortly and undermine the bullish outlook of the market. They argued that a failed monetary policy had unwittingly expanded the money supply in the battle to exit recession, while structural impediments that have stifled production and trade combined with excess liquidity exacerbate inflation. European Union leaders have agreed in principle to cut 90% of oil imports from Russia by the end of this year, cutting off a vital source of funding for Moscow's invasion of Ukraine after reaching a compromise with Hungary. The organization has spent weeks haggling over a complete ban on Russian oil, but encountered a stubborn resistance from Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who said an embargo would destroy his country's economy. At a meeting in Brussels yesterday, leaders hashed a deal to exempt deliveries arriving in Europe by the Druzhba pipeline. That's the business news. Thanks for watching. Now to the rest of the news.
Thank you for staying with us. Up next is entertainment news.
Nollywood actor Kalu Ikeago told an Ikeja High Court how his estranged wife, Ijoma, allegedly deserted their matrimonial home and denied him sex after welcoming their son. He is seeking a dissolution of his 6-year-old marriage to Ijoma. Kalu is also seeking full custody of his 3-year-old son and 10-year-old stepdaughter. He also debunked the claim that he sent his wife and kids out of the house and failed to provide for their upkeep. The petitioner also said he was not aware that his wife lost a pregnancy due to a sexually transmitted infection while they were together. The judge adjourned the case till June 23 for continuation of hearing. Meghan Markle's half-sister, Samantha Markle, has said that Meghan has still not made efforts to reach out to their father after he suffered a stroke. In an interview, Samantha said their father, Thomas Markle, is unable to speak, but is well enough to text if Meghan got in contact. She further revealed that Meghan has not spoken to her father since the eve of her 2018 wedding to Prince Harry. Samantha insisted the door is wide open for her half-sister to privately connect with him. Thomas Markle has been in a critical care ward for a week. Nollywood stars have been thrown into mourning following the demise of a Yoruba movie actor, Gbadebo Osmond. Nollywood stars such as Yomi Fabi, Adeniyi Johnson, and others took to their social media to mourn the late actor. Gbadebo was famous for movies such as Queen Latifat, Hayat Killer, Tejumola, and others. American rapper Master P has announced the passing away of his daughter, Titiana. He made it known via his Instagram page. He wrote, "Our family is dealing with an overwhelming grief for the loss of my daughter, Titiana. We respectfully request some privacy so that our family can grieve. Mental illness and substance abuse are real issues that we can't be afraid to talk about. With God, we will get through this." Where he eulogized his sister.
Up next is sports news.
Hello and welcome to Sports News on Plus TV Africa. 7-time Ballon d'Or winner Lionel Messi says he misses his friend and former Argentina teammate Sergio Aguero. Aguero has been unable to play football after suffering from a heart condition. Messi previewed the upcoming game against Italy in the Finalissima, saying it will be a nice test for the Copa America holders. The Barcelona legend revealed he is still unsure whether he will play at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The U.S. investment firm Redbird has bought Serie A champions AC Milan from the U.S. fund Elliott after a deal was reached in the last few days. Asset manager Investcorp had also been in the running to buy seven-time European champions Milan earlier this month, but they could not agree on certain terms, paving the way for Redbird to pursue a deal. Italian newspaper Il Sole 24 reported earlier this month that Redbird was nearing a deal worth about 1.3 billion euros to buy Milan. The Italian side was one of Europe's top clubs under the previous ownership of former Italy Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi. Redbird, already an investor in Fenway Sports Group, the owner of Premier League football club Liverpool, and the Boston Red Sox baseball team, also has a controlling stake in French football club Toulouse. Now, Monaco Grand Prix winner Sergio Perez had more to celebrate on Tuesday, May 31st, when Red Bull announced a contract extension, keeping the Mexican alongside Formula One world champion Max Verstappen until 2024. Championship leader Verstappen's deal runs to the end of 2028 after the Dutch driver signed a 5-year extension in March. Perez, 32, triumphed on the streets of Monaco on Sunday, May 29th, becoming the most successful Mexican Formula One driver of all time and also his country's first winner of the showcase race. He took his first F1 pole position in Saudi Arabia in March and has had 4 podium finishes in 7 races so far this year. Verstappen had already hinted on Sunday at the Mexican getting a new deal. And that's all the sports news we have for you for now. Join us next time. My name is Mikhail Tinubu. Have a good night.
And the main news again. Fresh suit seeks Atiku's disqualification from 2023 presidential race. Libya Group urges ICC to probe alleged use of mines in war. An European Commission president says embargo on Russian oil will cut 90% of imports. And that's the news now. For more stories, please follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I am Adibanke Odunui. Thank you for watching.